We should go back all the way.
Okay.
Skip my message. Oh, I understand. In the US, we're so used to like Uber Eats like at 2 in the morning. Here, there's nothing like as much.
People don't eat as much.
See, I
People
don't
don't eat as much.
need some food service around here.
Well, we got one service last night.
Like not
Lasagna.
pizza or something.
No, we had to order lasagna room service. Every time I order lasagna, same food.
You know what? Or you purposely ordered lasagna.
Yeah, because I didn't know.
I
That's
thought
it.
they were like, all we have is lasagna. Oh, yeah. Present from here?
I have to, because I have to demo it and everything.
Okay, well, at least stands when you're speaking.
Alright?
Well, do you have like a, or you can,
I mean, I can turn it around.
you told me. So for future reference, you have one person drive the demo, one person speaking the demo. That's how we do it.
Yeah, that it breaks. Maybe that's hard.
Oh, same for food. So like, if you ever do this again, special environments,
Yeah.
you would sit with like whoever, walk on Noah, and you would walk them through exactly where they click. No one
Oh,
else.
okay. Hold me up. I can do that.
Wait, you want Noah?
No, I mean, who knows?
I'm here.
Come here.
I'm here. Come here. We need you.
I'll tell you how to drive the demo and the slides. And I'll take this.
And you
And I'll
can stand.
this.
You can still, or you can stand here. Hey, we gotta go. We gotta go. So you go here. You know how to drive a demo? Here, yeah.
Show it for me.
So, John, we just see on the screen. How long?
I
You know how long on this first one? I'll get you.
don't know. 20 minutes? Maybe shorter.
Hey, where you at? Yes. He's gonna go around. Okay, we'll change the shiny screen. That's what we want to do. So he's gonna present up there. All right. This is brilliant. Which
Can you
one?
tell him?
Which one do you like?
Can you tell him how to drive it? Yeah.
So we're gonna start. Watch. So it's a work in progress. Thankfully, we're gonna close the doors so this noise stays outside. That means that if your child wilds out, don't say vaccines, it goes out. Listen, ask the clean. Are you guys temperatures comfortable? Yes, very good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we turned the air conditioner on. Cranked it. Yeah. Yeah. It'll get cold. If you feel cold, good luck. We're gonna give it one more jacket on the back end. This one?
Yeah. Yeah. Should I use this or?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, folks. So this next one is really exciting. This is a project that Ashton and the team have been working on for a while. So I'll pass it on to him to go ahead and show off this amazing
Sure.
striving project that they've.
All right. Salam alaikum, everyone. My name is Ashkan. I'm from the San Jose community. I don't know where the 2 minutes went. It's already 17. Um, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm from San Jose community. Pleasure to meet you all. And mashallah, God bless you guys, all of you who participated for this conference. It's been an amazing time so far. And I wanted to quickly talk about some of the projects, exciting projects that we've been working on. You see that it says the Quran app, but we have other tools that integrate with it, inshallah, which God willing, I'll go over. But just to give you an introduction of the people that have been involved with these projects, I mean, you can go to the next slide. So here's the team of design and development. These are the by far probably the best looking pictures that I could find of all the people that were in there. So at this age, from this point on, I think it's all downhill, but this is as good as it's gonna get. All right. So I've been mainly in charge with the design of it, and also, as many of you know, I've met with you individually to ask questions, learn about your habits and the things that you like and or you wish that we could include in an application, so it can help you with your submission. I'm sorry. Amir Dadan is the guy that I'm going to talk about the people. So so yeah, so that's what I do. I'm mainly just dealing with the users and the design development. Amir's mashallah done a lot of work to set up the entire infrastructure of the app that we're going to demo, God willing. And Markan and LP been, by God's grace, participating in the feature development and the front end work for the application. And Zeb is the program coordinator. So if you have any like feedback, comments, or you would like to maybe even participate and earn $0 in salary, you can reach out to him, and inshallah. But Sogorth, obviously, investment into the hereafter. So keep that in mind. Yeah, $0, but inshallah billions in the hereafter. So that's the team. It's a dream team. But just so you know, I don't know if you noticed, Makan been just crunching code, like up until like maybe 10 minutes ago. Like this demo that we just um, rolled out was pushed in like maybe 5 minutes before the namaz. So inshallah, it works. If it starts acting up, then just so you know, it's in beta. We're still testing it. There's a lot of things that might not work as expected. So God willing, we'll do our best, and inshallah, in the upcoming releases, those problems or bugs are gonna go away. So if you can go to the next slide, I mean, I think we've had enough of our faces. Okay, so for the problem, why did we decide to do this? I think it's good to share that, mashallah, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of talented people in our community. We have designers, developers. We have a lot of people, in sales. We have people in management. Product owners. So I think we have, mashallah, like a solid team of talented individuals in the communities. Um, and one thing that we can all benefit from as submitters, especially, is how are we gonna study the Quran like efficiently and effectively. So we have, for instance, the Quran, we have all the explanations, we have the videos, we have the audios, we have submitted perspectives, but it's not as easy to study a specific topic. Like you have to go like so many different places. You have to do a lot of manual search one by one, view the verses. Like I can use myself as an example. I mean, you can go to the next slide. So so for instance, for myself, like one example I can think of when I want to give like a sermon, one thing I do, like I have a topic in mind, then I go and search like a word and then look at the verses one by one and then go look through other materials left by the messengers, like audios, videos. If I have notes, I mean, I have mashallah good notes on audios, like I can search it. But it's very manual, all of that. And also index too is a big pain point, because if you want to look through the index, there's no way to like quickly see all the verses that are in the index. So, um, and yeah, and with that, it's there is an opportunity for us to actually put it all together and come up with a, mashallah, new technology to help everybody learn much faster. And then if you can go to the next slide. So this is a quick peek of the mobile and the desktop side by side. And inshallah, we'll do like a demo of the features that are included. And then also, God willing, I'll talk about the features that are going to be, God willing, released later in the future. So as you can see, we support both mobile and desktop, and right now we just support web. We have a native app that Ali Jazairi has been working on, mashallah, but it's still been work in progress. So right now this project specifically is on the browser, so if you have a desktop, you can use Chrome or Safari to get into the app, or you can use it on your phone to open the app and learn about it. But it's currently in beta, so we just have like a random link that we can inshallah share if anyone's interested to use it and then provide feedback. Okay, cool. Amir, can you go to the next? I think this is time for demo. Do you have the Okay, I'm gonna bring it up here too for myself. Okay, so are you on? Let me see. There we go. Oh, can you open the menu on the left, top left? Okay, so it's a collapsible menu that you can basically, in case you want to see the full, have the full real estate of um, the reader experience, you can just collapse or expose the side menu. And if you, for instance, go to the introduction, you can see there's two ways to get search for the content and look up the content. One is through the left hand panel, which you have basically a proclamation, introduction. Then you have the glossary. Amir, if you want to show the glossary, um, and then yeah, you can click on that. Uh, these are the items that we have in the glossary section. And then for the Quran and the appendices, as you can see, it's like an accordion. So if you expand it, you have access to all the surahs. And just to kind of show you a quick glance of how the surahs are structured. So basically, we have quick links like every place in the let's say footnote. If there's a verse that's been referenced, it's a link that you can just quickly click on it, and it will take you to, it will show you that reference, and also you can choose to go to that location. So now, this is just the basic menu on how to navigate, and then on the Amir, on the top right where you see the globe icon, you can click on that and you can choose Arabic. So we also have Arabic. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. It shows up. So you can have Arabic and English together. So what is it? No, so there's no translation for is Arabic is just for the scripture. So the proclamation introduction, we don't have any translation. We have access to the Farsi. It's one of the things I was going to go over, inshallah. What is it?
Which one? Oh, Q, can you?
We can do this, inshallah, in the Q&A, God willing. Yeah. 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 Let's go through the basics, and then we can do questions after. So yeah, so you can have access to Arabic and English. God willing, Farsi, that's another thing. We have access to the data. Inshallah, we can add that. And then Amir, so now with the problem that I just mentioned, so we thought about, okay, what is a good solution for us to really study like a topic or a verse? Like if you really want to dig into a verse and understand um, all the parameters, how do we do that? So Amir, if you can go to chapter 6, verse 38. Let me also pull it up here. Um, so as you can see, if you find, yeah, 638, and then you can also click on the verse. So it says animals and birds submitting creatures. So you can see there's three options. One option, you can obviously copy the verse. You can copy the English and Arabic. If the verse comes with the footnotes, you can choose to copy the verse and the footnotes, which a lot of you may be familiar with that. That exists in our iOS application that Ali Jazari has developed. And then, so now the feature that we just released is the one that at the end is called related. So Amir, if you can if you can select that, inshallah, it works well. Okay, great, thank God.
All right. So,
Okay, so as you can see, verse 6, chapter 6, verse 38 has been mentioned in all those sections that you see. So you can see, for instance, in the introduction has been mentioned, in the appendices, and if you keep on scrolling, you can see that it's been mentioned in the index. It falls under all of these items. So if you, for example, decide to, let's say, uh, look under wings, like wings is an index item. So 6 is one of the items, obviously. I guess that should be like not a link, but like if you select another one, let's say, what is that one? Okay, yeah, 1588, select that. So it will give you a view of what that verse is. If there are multiple verses, so maybe you can close this one, Amir, and then show one with there are multiple verses. So like, for example, let's say one that is no, 17, yeah, right there, 17 under summoning. Yeah, right there is good. That one's good. So this one again has like multiple verses related to that chapter. So 7, 2 to 3, and then 185. And it should show you 185, but no, that's a okay. Anyway, so that's a problem. That's a bunch. Okay. No, I'm joking. All right. So ideally, you're supposed to see verse 2 and 3, and then you're supposed to see verse 185. So instead of us going through individual verses and discovering it or searching it, by God's grace, we have all of that available in this modal view. So now you can close this, and also if you if you keep going, so like one thing, yeah, even in the footnotes, if there are any references, it shows up here too. So even if you have like, let's say, a reference of a verse, you can see it that you can even use that to kind of dig in deeper. So that's also an option. So yeah, but now one thing is just so you know, it's still in beta, so there may be some items that are not being populated here in the related panel. So just keep that in mind. That's not everything. There may be more stuff that could show up. And one thing that we also wanted to talk about. So I think um, maybe you want to maybe show them the search as well. So maybe search for water. If you go to the search, yeah, there you go. Select, choose water. Um, there we go. Okay, so like for instance, you can see there's a total number of items. Like it shows up. You can search based on each individual like categories, like verses as a category, footnotes. There's some styling issues. We gotta fix that. But yeah. So this is again the same thing. You can select a verse. It will direct you to that verse directly. Um, and also, as far as the filters that we have right now, if you go Amir to the filter option, so again, you can choose which filters that you can add or remove. And one thing that we want to, inshallah, add, this is again something that we still are working on, but God willing, we want to, and this is again something that it's a good topic to discuss, is if we should include. In the related section, it will be very nice to have, let's say, other materials left by the messenger. If you can look those up, like for example, let's say you search a specific topic, and if the references in submitter's perspective should show up, or let's say if you have any notes related to your audios, if those should show up. I think that's one of the things we've been thinking about, and inshallah, we can God willing talk about it more. Okay, I mean, I think that's good for the demo. If you want to go back to the slides, there's a couple of things that also these are not ready, but these are items that we have on the wish list, and God willing, we're gonna try to release these as soon as we get the chance. So one feature is called your list, and this is when you want to, for instance, just create a collection of lists, and this is completely like let's say you want to create a list of verses that are important for the topic that you're researching. And you can bring all that into one place, and then you can just copy everything or clear it. Or if you want to leave a comment, let's say you want to have like, okay, 5 different verses, you want to just have it ready instead of copy pasting individual verses to your notes. You can just have it all in here, and you can copy paste it, move it to your, presentation or whatever. So instead of doing it all one by one, you can just add it all to your list. So this is one. The other feature, Amir, if you can get into it, it's the bookmark. This one is it's a work in progress, but most of you are familiar with this. If you use a reader app, um, you can just bookmark a specific location. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but that one is not available and it's coming up soon, God willing. And then next one, Amir. This one is theming. So we already have the logic defined. We just have to, inshallah, develop it. But God willing, we can add, different themes, light, dark, or just different color combinations. That's one of the things that we also have planned for the future, inshallah. And then, two other things. I mentioned one of them. Amir, if you can go to the next one, is the Farsi translation. That one, inshallah, is going to be coming up soon. And then we have adding, personal notes to verses. So, like, let's say there's a verse, you want to open it up, you want to add your own notes, and possibly even linking verses if you want within your notes, which that can easily take you to other verse locations. That's all, inshallah, features that we have on the roadmap. And then next one, this one's pretty exciting. LP, mashallah, has been doing a lot of fantastic work right here. There we go. Um, we are working on this AI technology and by God's grace, putting it together into a tool or an application. The only platform that right now it lives on is Discord. It's in testing. It's not ready to be released yet. But just as a disclaimer, it's a couple of things you should be aware of is that this tool or this chatbot is not going to drive a religious understanding for you. Like you can just feed it all the verses and see like give you an understanding. Like put everything in there and then tell me what word of God is. It doesn't work like that. Um, so one thing so just use it purely for referencing, and that's what we want to make sure that's the case. So some random stuff doesn't come out of nowhere, random understandings. And then also the bot is not comprehensive, so there could be additional references that are not included in the results. And right now, uh, the only category that the bot is working with is the submitted perspectives, and but still it's all PDF. So the tool it doesn't. There's a lot of text that are not clear or visible or cropped off. So the tool might make some mistakes in terms of understanding what the content is. But that's something, inshallah, that we're going to work on. God willing, we're going to bring all that into a readable format. So it's the results are going to be, inshallah, more accurate. And Amir, if you can go to the next slide to kind of show you an example of what that looks like. Um, so here you can see, for instance, it says the things that you're not supposed to do. So you're not supposed to ask, like, are you going to Payam Bushel's wedding? Or how are you doing? Or how am I looking for something about the Arabs in the submitted perspectives? Can you help me? You can, for example, say, okay, show me the two false verses. Or for example, what is Imam Zaman, like based on the information that we have or hadith and sunnah or innovations. Like you can just have like a phrase, and you can here you can see as an example like LP the input is it's Imam Zaman, and then the bot outputs and says that here's all the references I could find for this topic Imam Zaman, and then it will show you like in the submerged perspective like October 1985 page 2 Imam Zaman or Imani was Zaman is also known to million of Muslims dot dot dot, and then the next reference is in November 1985 page 1 who is Imam Zaman, that's the title. So again, this is another, mashallah, blessing that we have access to. And it's right now currently in Discord, but we've been thinking about LP has mainly been working on uh, um, integrating that with our messaging applications. So, like if you're an Android user or an iOS user, you can save the number as like a contact and just, chat with it and get all the references. Um, so that's for that. I'm sure a lot of you may have questions, but one other thing that we have, if you can go to the next slide, Amir. Okay, so this is okay. This is only for left side of the room. Like this was a free account, only 50 participants. but I realize if more people want to join and take this survey, it will be very helpful for us to understand, okay, what are some of the features that you guys like that we missed out on, like we didn't. It's an amazing opportunity for us to learn about the features that you think would help you. So there's some questions on there. It's pretty simple, only 6 questions. So if you can go through that and complete it and show, that'd be great. This is only for the left side of the room. So if you're here, scan from this point on, from Natasha to that. Well, that's a lot of people. Yeah, just let's do from Delilah all the way down. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. So that's the left. And if you've done it, maybe give it like another minute. We do the Q&A and then switch to the right side. And then if the right side want to scan it, inshallah, that'd be great. So, yeah, perfect.
So Q was chomping at the bit. He was
Yeah.
really clean question. So
Okay.
yeah, he ain't gonna remember. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Please, if you raise your hand and get, don't do that. That's not
Yes.
question.
Yeah. Survey. Yeah. The survey is the best place for feedback. That's, yeah.
Don't forget the surrounding stuff.
Absolutely.
So, well, you're using the 1992 English version, right?
Yeah. 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 The turquoise. Yeah.
Is from that particular one that we have, right? The white copy.
It should be. It's still we're still working on turquoise. It's on the based on turquoise. Yeah.
Reprint that.
Yeah.
And then the information, when you say related, these are your own notes, or these are the notes that you guys think that, uh,
No, related is everywhere the verse that you're trying to research has been mentioned, like in the Quran, index, appendices. So let's say if
you
you,
saw some verses that, like, seven, was it 7:1 and 3, 7:1 and 2, was not related to 6:38.
it's under the, so when you look into the related in the index section of the related panel, it will have, if 638 has been mentioned in that, like, let's say, category, then 7.1, yeah, it's another verse I could. So like wings, for example, for animals could be.
You saw that 6 colon, usually the number 38 is maybe a few verses, and then like 4:19 and then 38. So it's not like exactly 6:38. Because if you search 6:38, you only see those verses that 38 is exactly mentioned right after colon. But this one will actually show even if they're apart. Like I saw one, I think.
Yeah, like let's say there's 7.1 and then 2 and then 50. The
So 750 will come.
Yeah, if it's from the same chapter, it will show you from top to bottom so you can see for that specific chapter.
Like 7 colon.
Yeah, yeah.
Answer that when we have a few folks who have volunteered that are very vigilantly looking at the data to make sure that all the references, everything that we put, because a lot of them were done and there are assumed issues there. We actually have a list of bugs that people have already reported, like incorrect reference or something. This is I work on this. I still work at a lot of people that work on it. It's very, very complicated. It's not a simple solution. So more people are gonna be invited to look at this and like take parts of the Quran and then the indices and all the references and really examine it. We're not gonna actually release this to like make this a human readable URL until God will know that the data is exactly.
Okay. So just a quick note, if you haven't scanned it, if you're on this side, feel free to do that. It'll be great for us to get as much feedback as possible. So, okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah, great art.
Mashallah. That's good.
Question. You know when you said you can make personal notes onto verses? No, so when you write your personal notes on verses, is there a possible way where we could let's say, link our notes with another user of the app as well. Because for example, some of us like to, like myself and Lucy, for example, when we're teaching, we create like a document and write notes that we know onto the verses.
Oh wow,
If
that's amazing. Yeah. No, we just have for the next step is to just introduce, well, just release the note feature, God willing, where you can just add your own notes, and then the collaborative part. Then I think the developer is gonna. So yeah, that's a big one, but it's doable. It's doable, and I think it's great if you can add it in the survey, so that way we can collect all the feedback, inshallah, and then God willing, shape the roadmap. So
I'll make a mention. So,
that's good.
sure.
Mashallah.
I have a question. So is this a standalone app? Like, I probably missed it by mistake, or is it more?
Oh.
Is there?
It it's not open to all. We there's a link that if you want to just beta test it, we can inshallah provide that. It's on Discord, God willing. But one of the things we've been contemplating is to allow only Discord, give you a Discord authentication. So if you're a Discord member, like within the communities that we have, that you can access it because I mean, the information may not be accurate right now because we're still working on it. We don't want to kind of release it to everyone. So that's one of the things we've been thinking about, and I think the next step is to add the user authentication. So if you're a Discord member, you can. Yeah, same thing for the AI part too. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a lot excited about this. I'm sure this is a lot of hard work they put in. I've watched these guys over the last few months get it together. So I know there's questions. I know there's a lot going on with this. We're over 20 minutes over. So please, if you have features that you want, if you have feedback, if you want to be included with the Q&A, reach out to Zeb. He is your point of contact. Ashkar's the designer. He kind of helps get us started, but he's not going to sit there and take notes on what you're asking for. So, Ashkar, thank you very much.
Yeah, mashallah. God bless you guys. Mashallah.
All right, assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Am I taking your spot, Hossein? Are you?
Yeah, kind of.
All right, I was supposed to be the MC today. Hossein filled in for the first half. You did an excellent job, mashallah. Big shoes to fill, even though you have small feet.
Minor correction.
Yeah.
So, seeing, we, do a lot of like tedious work, and then the last he sort of like made a captain of the ship. Let's say Bill went home this morning, and I have to take care of help my home kids. Also, it's gonna bail me out now. Also, get back to it.
Oh, okay. All right, all right. In case you don't know me, I'm Omid. I was gonna say I'm from San Jose, but from Ali's reminder, I guess I would say I'm from another universe. Um, Long story. I was in the high society. I had a little doubt. Now I'm in Edinburgh. No, I'm just kidding. I am from San Jose. This conference is like I'm so happy that mashallah we can finally all be together. And I'm ecstatic not only to be with all of you, but to be with all of you in Scotland, mashallah. Anyway, sorry, we're behind. I just wanted to give a quick, intro. Next up is going to be Stephanie. She's going to be doing a speech, God willing. So round of applause.
I have slides. Very good. No. Oh, I see it. It's the up and down arrows. Okay. Assalamualaikum. Let me know if you can hear me well or not. Okay. So yeah. What you see behind me is an excerpt from a movie called A Little Trip to Heaven that sparked a sermon which became the speech, essentially. In this scene from the movie, it's it's the female lead. She's telling the male lead about a conversation she had with her son, where he asked her, "Why is God in heaven and the devil in the ground? Heaven is so far away." And he asked her what she said, and she replies that she told him because it's easier to lie down than it is to fly, right? So I saw this movie like years ago. So this is kind of really old, like around 2009. And I remember my first reaction to hearing this interaction in the movie was, what? What kind of answer is that? That makes no sense whatsoever. And I don't know why, but like it really kind of upset me. I spent like God knows how long just grumbling to myself, like what kind of stupid, like fake philosophical response is that? That doesn't answer the kid's question. So like it really didn't make sense to me. And as far as I was concerned, it didn't, like I said, it didn't answer the child's question at all. So I dismissed it as like a failed attempt at the writers trying to be philosophical and deep and whatever. Like a few minutes later, or however long later, I decided to go to my contact prayer. And as much as I thought I had dismissed the whole conversation, clearly I was like still thinking about it because and like processing it subconsciously because after I finished my contact prayer, the lines came back into my brain and suddenly it made sense, right? So after I finished contact prayer, I repeated the lines to myself, and I began to see how Isol's answer kind of could apply to submission. And I also started seeing how much truth there is in her response, right? It turned out that her reply was actually a really clever answer. Uh, Hold on. Right. So it's easier to lie down than it is to fly. Think about that for a second. Where is God? As mentioned in the Quran and in the scriptures, he is in the highest location and the highest position there could possibly be. He upholds and represents the highest morals, thoughts, and actions. All that is good is God, right? It's the courage of God, Satan, the rejected the of God, most gracious, merciful. 40:15. Possessor of the highest ranks, ruler of the whole dominion. 53:6. Possessor of all authority from his highest height. 53:7. At the highest horizon. 73. From God, possessor of the highest height. So where's the devil? For now, he's on this planet with us. But where is he going to be in the hereafter? The Quran tells us that Satan's destiny is to be in the deepest, lowest, furthest place from God. All that is proud, hateful, greedy, sinful, you name it, it is the devil. 60:17. The angels will be all around, and your Lord's dominion will then encompass 8 universes. And the footnote explains this earth is full of misery because of its physical distance from God. Since it is in the 7th universe, in the hereafter, an 8th universe will be created that will be even farther from our 7th universe, and it will be called hell. Now, most everyone, when they think of death and the afterlife, consciously or subconsciously, hope that their loved ones, as well as themselves, make it to heaven, into paradise. And as far as this worldly life is concerned, um, sorry, hold on. Right, as far as this worldly life is concerned, it's not an easy task to achieve for many, if not most people. Why? Because in order to have the slightest assurance that of God's promise of salvation, a person needs to lead a righteous life in which they strive to obey God's commandments and to do the best to live in a manner that would please Him. All that you do, think, and are must represent and uphold all that God represents and advocates. You are to avoid gross and minor sins. You have to be charitable and kind. You have to strive for and stand up for the cause of God. You have to avoid excess, lewdness, and all that the devil works so hard to adorn in our eyes. Did we not show him the two paths? He should choose the difficult path. Which one is the difficult path? The freeing of slaves, feeding during the time of hardship, orphans who are related, or the poor who is in need, and being one of those who believe and exhorting one another to be steadfast and exhorting one another to be kind. Traits of the righteous. The worshippers of the Most Gracious are those who tread the earth gently. When the ignorant speak to them, they only utter peace. In the privacy of the night, they meditate on their Lord and fall prostrate. When they give, they are neither extravagant nor stingy. They give in moderation. They never implore beside God any other God, nor do they kill anyone, for God has made life sacred, except in the course of justice. Nor do they commit adultery. Those who commit these offenses will have to pay. Additional traits of the righteous. Surah 25, verse 72 and 73. They do not bear false witness. When they encounter vain talk, they ignore it. When reminded of their Lord's revelations, they never react to them as if they were deaf and blind. Righteousness defined. Righteousness is not turning your faces towards the east or the west. Righteous are those who believe in God, the last day, the angels, the scriptures, and the prophets. They give the money cheerfully to the relatives, the orphans, the needy, the traveling alien, the beggars, and to free the slaves. And they observe the contact for salawat and give the obligatory charity zakat, and they keep their word whenever they make a promise. And they steadfastly persevere in the face of persecution, hardship, and war. These are the truthful. These are the righteous. In accordance with the role he has chosen for himself, Satan strives at every opportunity to trap us, mislead us, and encourage us to sin. Satan encourages us to lie when the truth seems too troublesome, too painful, or would lead to undesired consequences or uncomfortable consequences. He encourages us to cheat because it would be too difficult to work for what we want and get it honestly. Because the work is too hard, the wait is too long, and you want instant gratification. He encourages us to fear people, fear consequences, fear pain, both physical and emotional. But by God's infinite mercy, God makes us aware in the Quran that fear is the devil's tool. And as experience has probably shown all of us, it is his greatest tool. He uses it without hesitation, too. He uses fear and doubt to push us away from the path of God and to keep us from flying, or simply standing up. Because really, which is easier? To submit to peer pressure and follow the crowd even though they're wrong, or to fight in the cause of God, especially when you're alone in that fight. If you want to make it to heaven, you have to be willing to be steadfast in the face of all those who fight you, oppose, and would oppress you simply because you believe in God alone and wish to uphold his teachings. You have to be strong enough to trust in God alone, to trust that nothing is too big or too small or too great a thing that God cannot support you and guide you safely through it. You have to be patient. You have to be kind. And most importantly, you must never despair of God's mercy or grace, regardless of what you're faced with. Sometimes it can feel as though you're alone because no one else believes as you do, or because you feel your friends or family have abandoned you or begun to oppress you, or all because of what you believe. It's not an easy path, but as God advises us, we must choose the difficult path. If our goal, our wish is to make it to heaven, if our wish is to fly, that is the only way we will be able to get wings strong enough to carry us to where God is. Messengers before you have been rejected. They steadfastly persevered in the face of rejection. They were persecuted until a victory came to them. Such is God's system that will never change. The history of my messengers thus sets a precedence for you. They steadfastly persevere in seeking their Lord, observe the contact for his salat, spend from our provisions to them secretly and publicly, and counter evil with good. These have deserved the best abode. Follow what is revealed to you and be patient until God issues his judgment. He is the best judge. You shall resort to patience, and your patience is attainable only with God's help. Do not grieve over them, and do not be annoyed by their schemes. Never despair of God's grace. None despairs of God's grace except the disbelieving people. So, why is God in heaven while the devil is in the ground? Because it's easier to lie down than it is to fly. It's easier to give up and give in than it is to fight. It's easier to run than it is to face and conquer your fears. But as submitters, in order to make it to heaven, we must fight. We must not run and we must not fear. As submitters, in order to fly, we must stand in the cause of God and fear nothing and no one except God. We must never lie down or submit to the wishes of the disbelievers or of those who would have us run away from God. Did we not show the human being the two paths? He should choose the difficult path. Which one is the difficult path? The freeing of slaves, feeding during the time of hardship, orphans who are related, or the poor who is in need, and being one of those who believe and exhorting one another to be steadfast and exhorting one another to be kind. These have deserved happiness. Thank you.
Oh, all right. God bless you, something else.
And
All right. So some time for questions or comments. I see Piers with two questions. All right.
The last slide that you showed that why Satan is on the ground, I understand that he rebelled, and that's why he is a fallen angel. That's why he's thrown out of God's throne, and he is on the place that he can endure to get away from God. Not because he didn't strive, he didn't have to strive in order to go back. He has no chance. And the reason that he's on the ground was to rebel. Anyone who rebel, they're going to be exiled forever from God. That's not his time. Maybe I didn't understand your point, but this is how I have your point.
right. That is the reason why Satan was exiled. The connection that I was making there was more in sense of like the qualities that the believers versus the disbelievers exhibit. And I think I kind of hinted towards it in the beginning when I said that God upholds and represents all that is righteous, all that is good, and all that is just, right? And Satan, on the other hand, represents everything else. And that's usually everything lowly, everything that is base and well, and in that sense, God is in heaven and Satan is in the ground. That's more the connection I was making, not why he was expelled. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else? We have time for one more. All right.
Thank you.
Round of applause. All right. Now we will introduce Mariam Hassanpour. Here?
Yeah.
Oh, there. Start. Don't start. I just need to cut. Excuse 1 second. Will you set you up? Manager?
Okay.
One flash. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Control.
Salam alaikum. Can you guys hear me? Oh, this Salam alaikum is such
It's so good, so great to be here, mashallah, to be with everyone, especially since I'm not in San Jose at this time. I'm in Texas and I don't have a lot of, Quran studies and the submitters around me. My mom is a submitter, mashallah, praise God. So I do my Friday prayer with her and everything, but I really miss being part of with the community. So it's great to be here. By God's grace, I'm here. So my topic is about God's system. I'm just going to get to it. Name of God, most gracious, most merciful, God's system. How do I work this? To go to the next slide? This one?
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
the.
Okay, so if I put this, how do I go? Okay. Oh, so this one's not this.
Yeah.
The next one after this. Yeah. Can you? Because the next slide is actually supposed to be the last one for some reason. I don't know why it came up. Mm. It's not working. The next one. It's not this one. Because I have my objectives. This is yeah. So my objectives is okay. That's this one. Okay. Okay. So what is a system? What is God's system? God's law versus God's system, and how does the system work? So a system is a group of related things that work together as a whole. It is a set of principles and procedures according to which something is done, an organized framework or method. There are many systems all around us. The human body as a whole is a system. Within the body, we have many systems like digestive system, circulatory system, and so on. There's a computing system, geological system, weather system, social system, political system, and so on. So within every system, though, there are a set of laws that must conform to the system in order for the system to work. So God has mentioned in the Quran a few times, system has been mentioned, and I'm going to read some of the verses that the system have been mentioned. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. 2:137. If they believe as you do, then they are guided. But if they turn away, then they are in opposition. God will spare you their opposition. He's the hearer, the omniscient. And 137, 138 states, such is God's system. And whose system is better than God's? Him alone we worship. So 634 is also another verse. Messengers before you have been rejected, and they steadfastly persevered in the face of rejections. They were persecuted until our victory came to them. Such is God's system that will never change. History of my messengers has thus set precedents for you. And then the next one, the system. When they disregard the message given to them, we open for them the gates of everything. Then, as they rejoice in what was given to them, we punish them suddenly. They become utterly stunned. 936, God's system, 12 months for a year. 960, distribution system for charities. 969, God's system does not change. 1512, we thus control the minds of the guilty. 1513, consequently, they cannot believe in him. This has been the system since the early generations. Okay, the next verse. Okay. 15:4 and 15:76, God talks about communities that were destroyed because they rejected the message and the messengers. God in 17:12, God talks about the day and night as a timing system. 17:77, in this verse, God tells the messengers that the people will reject him. It states, this has been consistently the case with all the messengers that we sent before you, and you will find that our system does not change. In 33, verse 38, God talks about another system. The prophet is not committing an error by doing anything that is made lawful by God, such as God's system. Since the early generation, God's command is a sacred duty. And 33, verse 62, there is another system it's a system that God talks about in another verse. Here's God talks about the hypocrites and how they have incurred condemnation. God grants the believers the upper hand. This is God's eternal system, and we will find that God's system is unchangeable. In chapter 35, verse 43, God talks about rejectors who did not take heed, and therefore they incur condemnation. And in 40:85, so after it says too late, there's a talking about the system here as well. Their belief could not help them in the least once they saw our retribution. Such is God's system that has been established to deal with his creatures. The disbelievers always are doomed. And This way. I'm trying to go.
Okay.
Okay, now. Okay, go. System. We did not send before you any messengers nor a prophet without having the devil interfere with his wishes. God then nullifies what the devil has done. God perfects his revelation. God's omniscient, most wise. Victory guaranteed for the believers in 48:22. If the disbelievers ever fought you, they would turn around and flee. They have no Lord and Master. They have no help. Such is God's system throughout history, and you will find that God's system is unchangeable. So, as I had mentioned, before, God created many systems throughout the universe and our own bodies as well. Within this system, there are several laws that God has put in place for the system to work. For example, at a circulatory system, there's a law. There's a pressure difference in the form of the cardiac output and vessel compliance created blood flow. This governing principle is quantified by Ohm's law, which states the fluid which flows as represented by Q is equal to the pressure gradient. It's actually supposed to be it looks like like a upside down V, but it's supposed to be a triangle. I just couldn't do it on my computer. I'm not that technically advanced to to make that triangle thing. So it's actually a pressure gradient divided by the resistance. So Q equals pressure gradient over resistance. So this is the God's law that has put in place that for the circular blood to flow and the circular system to work. And there's this law is also part of the system that needs to be in effect for the system to work. And our solar system.
It's working here.
Go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So in our solar system, there are also laws of gravity and planetary motion and many others. Interesting point is that when the scientists, discover these laws that God had put in place, they give the credit to the scientists who discovered it, even though God has really not only made the law, also inspired, the scientists to actually discover these laws. So, for example, there's a Newton's law of gravitation, the Kepler's law of planetary motions, or Einstein, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times speed of light squared. So, did it work? Okay. And God's system as well operates within certain laws that have been set by Him. One such law is the oneness of God. There is no God except the one God. Another law is guaranteed victory for the messengers. Let's read 10:103. We ultimately save our messengers and those who believe. It is our immutable law that we save the believers. The law of happiness now and forever for God's allies. 10:62-64. Absolutely, God's allies have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. They are those who believe and lead a righteous life. For them, joy and happiness in this world as well as the hereafter. This is God's unchangeable law. Such is the greatest triumph. Okay. There are lots of laws that are on guide us to salvation while helping us lead a righteous life in this worldly life. God states that the Quran is complete and fully detailed, and these laws of the Quran help us to live a life that is admired by not just a believer, actually, but most people. Even though they don't believe in God, they actually, admire people who are, upholding certain moral standards. And we have, of course, we have all these laws in the Quran, laws of marriage. I put in reference the verses 234, 37, laws of divorce, 226, 233, laws of inheritance, 180, 182, laws of dietary, or food, all those verses, laws of equivalence, and laws of etiquette, the dress code, and this is a divine law. Nothing happens to you except in accordance with God's will. This is 64:11. Anyone who believes in God, He will guide his heart. God is fully aware of all things. 64:12. You shall obey God and you shall obey the messenger. If you turn away, then the most sole mission of messenger is to deliver the message. Divine etiquette. 24:27. Or you who believe, do not enter homes other than yours without permission from the inhabitants and without grieving them. This is better for you that you may take heed. If you find no one in them, do not enter them until you obtain permission. If you're told go back, you must go back. This is pure for you. God is fully aware of everything you do. So we see that these are very good, moral standards that God has put in place. If you follow these commandments, we're going to be recognized as individuals with integrity and high moral standards, And that is really a desirable character for everyone. Everyone look to have an honest friend who has, high moral standards, who are, trustworthy, who are kind, who are caring. So these are all the things, the good characteristics that God encourages us to have, and is a really a good characteristic to have for ourselves and the whole society. So these are the commandments in the Quran. All the commandments in the Quran that God has given us is for us to lead a righteous life and make it back to paradise. We all know that what happened in high society, and how we did not uphold God's absolute authority, and we came down here. So God had put a system in place that we follow the commandments, the laws, then we go back, and we will be forgiven for our original sin, and we go back to paradise. We know that these souls that was put into our bodies, as has been said, and Star Trek, there's a lot of reference to the movies, carbon units. I've been a Trekkie in the in the past, so the bodies, it was housing units, and it's maybe Zeb knows what I'm talking about. The carbon units, they reference our bodies as that. So we're the real person. The soul is a physical being, and it needs to grow. It didn't. People don't really have an idea that the soul actually has a physical presence and needs to be grown. It's not like some kind of some type of spirit, some kind of air or something. It is not that. It actually needs to grow, and God has put a system in place for our soul to grow, and for our soul to nourish and gain power. It has to do certain things. Let me go. So the soul needs food, and God has put in a system that if we follow His laws and grow our soul, we can make it back. And God put anytime we have any contact with God, our soul grows. And it's there. But God has put a certain way, and an efficient way of growing our souls, which will be the contact prayer. The daily contact prayer helps us to grow our soul, and this actually works. Within the system, the God's commandments for us to work within the system. And these commandments, like the 5 daily contact prayers, or fasting in the month of Ramadan, going to Hajj, paying the zakat. These are all commandments and the laws that helps us, if we follow them, to grow our soul and make it back. Though we did not uphold God's absolute authority during the feud and came here, there were degrees of agreeing with Satan. God is the knower of all secrets and declarations, and He knows the future, and He knows that there were people who deserve to be saved. Therefore, God devised a plan for redemption. And God's system is victory for the righteous. And since this is the system, we're given a set of laws and commandments for us to follow and to be among the righteous. So the 43:6 is the plan for redemption. We sent many prophets to previous generations. Sending the prophets, scriptures, and messengers to bring guidance from God is part of the plan for redemption. So let me go. This was my little thing of this. There's a God system, there's the law, and there's the commandments. That you follow all of this. It's all falls within God's system, and we will get back in God's kingdom, inshallah. So God's system is to follow the commandments and His laws, and will be successful. 25:56 formula for success. You shall observe the contact prayer, salat, give the obligatory charity zakat, and obey the messenger that you may attain mercy. This is God's system to send messenger to deliver us messages that we need for our salvation. Let's see this one. Here's 7:35. O children of Adam, when messengers come to you from among you and recite my revelations to you, those who take heed and lead a righteous life will have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. When God says in this verse that when messengers come to you, means this is done, right? It's not that if messengers come to you, it is when messengers come to you. That means that God has put that into the system that will send messengers. That way we can be sure, this has been done, and this is how it's going to work. And because of look at the verse 42:51. This is how God communicates with us. It says no human being can communicate with God except through inspiration, or from behind a barrier, or by sending a messenger through whom He reveals what He wills. He's the most high, most wise. Let's see the next one. The messengers are sent by God to deliver to us God's teachings and commandments and the laws, so that people will have a source of guidance. Prophets come and go, messengers come and go, but what lives and left for us is the scripture. And praise be to God that we have the final testament, the final scripture that we can really know. And with the mathematical code, we know this is the truth and nothing is omitted from it and missing from it. So this is really a blessing from us. And it's a blessing, and actually it's a great blessing to know God's system, because it gives a person a sense of comfort and peace of mind. You know, that confidence that God's system doesn't change. For example, I made an example. If you imagine you get up in the morning and not sure if the sun's going to rise or not, you know, if it's going to have air in the in the atmosphere or not, you know, this type of system, the things that God has put, we know it doesn't change, and so it gives us a confidence to just keep going and be actually be, I guess, mindful of God's promises and know that God's promise is true. And if we just do everything God has asked us to do, we'll make it. So I'm going to skip some of it because I don't have a lot of time. So one more. Let's make this is divine law. God states nothing happens to you except in accordance with God's will. Looking at this verse in a vacuum, person may think bad things happen because we know God's most gracious, most merciful. However, we know that anything from the other verses, anything that good happens to you is from God, and anything bad happens to you is from you. And God said, we have sent you as a messenger to the people. God suffices as a witness. So the commandment is to have no idol. Do not give power to anything. Submit to God and lead a righteous life. And looking at God's law, and like the fact that God's law doesn't change and nothing bad happens to us. So whatever bad happens to us, we are incurring it ourselves, you know. And as I mentioned, God's system are gift to us to help fix ourselves and make it back to paradise. And we don't have to spend huge sums of money, go to corners of the earth to find that, you know, because we have God's scripture in our hand and we know what we need to do and follow the commandments. And also, wanted to say that the God's system does not change. All the system works together as a whole to affect one outcome, which is the whole thing. All of these things has really one outcome, and is actually is the prevailing the truth over falsehood. So what is the truth? The truth is God. God is one. You know, there's no other God besides him. And the falsehood is Satan or other gods next to God or things like that. So all of these plans, all of these things, all the fact that was given to Satan to be tested for the test and everything, all has one outcome. All the system that's been put in place, just one outcome, and the outcome is prevailing the truth over falsehood. And let me just say so. Okay, thank you. God bless you. I'm sorry for this.
Very much. Okay. We'll take two questions. Two questions. Let me see.
Easy questions, please.
So maybe it's my question. I mean, you have a comment? Yeah. What's a comment? You're MC. Yeah.
This is only talking as a commoner, not superior. Well, I really like your speech, Matilda. It's not a question. I just want to share like my thoughts from what you're saying because I've been thinking about it. And if you want to add anything, of course. But I think the biggest blessing of submission is understanding that God has a system. And it's what differentiates us from every other religion. SubhanAllah, it's funny because when you think about like other religious people who believe in God, they don't believe in God's system. So when something happens to them, like I was talking with believers the other day. It's like they could get cancer, and the way they see it is like I'm just being tested. They don't understand that there's a greater system for like everything. And I think that's also why, you know, we know that majority of believers are destined for hell because they don't understand God's system, they don't understand God's qualities. So Marshall, thank you for that speech. I'm kind of like really going through that.
Yeah, praise God. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, God, it's really a great blessing to know God's system, and the system doesn't change. That's very important to know that God's system is unchangeable.
Thank you. All right, we have one more question, and then I'm going to do something to wake you all up. Because see, to our first day. It's not the second or third day. All right, this is a very long day. I understand. Yeah, exactly. After lunch, you know, I know Persian people here. They're nice. Where are you?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, Colin's question was a speech question. I am John. It was really good. You communicated a lot of information through this sermon, and I really liked it. You talked about God's laws and God's system, and also God's commandment. And then in one part, you said that and then you mentioned the physical um, like gravity, the physical laws as part of the God system. I just want to understand this. Maybe it's a hard question to answer, but and in one part you said that the God system doesn't change, and we know that physics, God changed them sometimes. Like, for example, the miracles, like parting the sea. It's not like physically possible, but it happened. So I want to see how we reconcile this. If we believe that the God system never changes, um, and these physical laws are part of the God system, how do you see that? How do you reconcile all this together? Thank you.
Yeah, so the way I reconcile that is, yeah, God's system doesn't change, and like I said, the last part, in my last statement is that all of this system, everything God has been put in place to bring one point into the light, and that the victory, the triumph of truth over falsehood. So God has put a lot of things in effect, even the laws of physics that God has put in effect, and sometimes God changes according to us, like, so that could be another part of God's laws that we don't know about. But we don't know about, like, for example, parting of the sea, that's how that's going to happen, because we don't know those laws, right? We know the laws that God has allowed us to have in this physical universe. So there may be other laws that God has put in place that we are not aware, and God uses those laws, to bring certain things for us to look at as a miracle. This is a miracle, because again, all of that is part of God prevailing the truth over falsehood. So God is putting, this is mercy of God for us, because God can say, no, this is it. You have to believe it. And if you don't believe it, you're going to go to hell. But he has put a lot of things. He brought a lot of things to picture, a lot of miracles for us to witness, to finally get to the truth that only God is the absolute authority and prevail the truth over falsehood. The falsehood will be having different gods.
Thank you. We have one from over here and said he thought of something, Maria, while we were
Go ahead.
talking. This one. Go. Great presentation. I was just wondering, it came to my mind about when you said God's system doesn't change. What I was thinking is that once God establishes a law or a command, when he says be, nothing can stop. Except God. God can change it. So once it's established, uh so established is a better word, is a good word. I can't think of another good word. So once he says so, then there's no power in the entire universe that can change. That's how I understand God's system doesn't change.
Yeah. Okay, my turn.
Thank you, Ryan, John, everyone.
Okay.
Quick household items here. If people need tags, name tags, if people don't know who you are, I'm pretty sure there's at least one person who doesn't know who you are. Malcolm will set up a little table in the foyer here. Okay. I've never used that word in my life. Foyer. Foyer. Excuse me. Um, and the last one is kind of just, let's set a good example, everyone. Let's make sure when we go to the bathroom, keeping the bathrooms clean as best as possible. Drying the stations after we taken a shower. Some of us, I'm included in this. I drag my foot out, and there's like a waterfall that comes with it. The sink. And little activity just to wake everyone up. I want you guys to tap the shoulder of the person in front of you and give them a compliment. Okay? You know what? And you know what in front of you, turn up. Okay, okay, I'll sleep in. My dad is just yelling. Okay, 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 okay. I saw some of the parents look at their child and like they're so cute, okay? Your child's not gonna respond to you. All right? Thank you, thank you. This is more than a compliment. Now you guys are just telling to the live story. It's way too much. Good job. Awesome. Okay, now everyone's awake. Everyone's awake. They're ready for the next person. And they better be ready because it's gonna be a lot of information, I guarantee you. Firuze Khanum, please come to the stage. You will stand right here because I made the mistake and I got yelled at. So right here, right there, center. She will say center if you go anywhere else. And do you have any slides?
Just that.
Just this one.
That's
Oh, mashallah, very easy.
okay.
And this is, you have to start it. There you go. Mashallah. Go ahead, Firuze.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, salam alaikum, everybody. Such a great feeling to be in the conference with so many brothers and sisters, and one of the conference outside the country of US, and it's such a blessing, my God's grace. God willing, I want to start my speech with this verse from Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Greatness of the Quran. If you reveal this Quran to a mountain, you would see it trembling out of reverence for God. We cite these examples for people that they may reflect. I was always fascinated to understand the greatness of Quran to the point that a submitting creature like a mountain, which is huge and hard as far as we see, physically react to this book in such a graphic description. What does Quran does to a mountain that is revealed to it is going to crumble it, and why it doesn't do it to us? As a submitter, mashallah, we are learning, we are examining it, God has revealed a lot of information to us, but do we really react like that? We don't. A lot of people, disbelievers, just pass by it. They, ignore this book, which is like a treasure for salvation. And what do? Nothing. God willing, in my speech, I want to point out the aspects that shows the greatness of Quran as much as God allows me to understand and share them with you. In Quran, we go back to the time when we rebelled in great feud in chapter 38, verse 67. And we didn't uphold God's absolute authority. For that reason, our soul developed impurities like ego. Number one deficiency, which killing it is one of the first commandments in Quran. Anger, being anxious, being argumentative, being impatient, and at the top of all, Satan instilled fear. In chapter 3, verse 175, we read that fear is Satan's tool. He instilled fear into his subject, and God says, do not fear him. If you want to fear means death. But we know we love God. We go to him not because of fear, but we love God. We understand who he is, and we do the commandments. God, the most merciful, gave us the third and last chance to reevaluate our stance and freely make a decision to join God's kingdom or Satan's kingdom. To start perfect happiness as a result of correct decision or to be exiled forever from God.
I just want to use the example from the Messenger of the Covenant that a baby's soul is the size of a cat. This example shows how small people's souls are, and only by worshiping God alone and denouncing Satan, God willing, we can gain back what we lost and develop our souls to the point that we can stand the immense God's energy on the day of judgment. And also, it determines our closest to God. In other words, our eternal ranks in the hereafter. This is the only chance we have. We can be Messenger's Covenant. I learned from him, from God's teaching through his Messenger of the Covenant, that this is a chance that we can be as high as, archangels. I don't know what we were before, but this opportunity is great, and we should, by God's grace, not lose it. Part of the plan was that we have no memory from before and start our lives with the circumstances that God, out of his mercy, has created. We read in chapter 6, verse 98. He initiated you from one person and decided your path as well as your final destiny. We thus clarify the revelations for people who understand. In our life, we will show our total submission to our Creator and be worthy of His kingship, or to be unappreciative and be under Satan's curse. We read in chapter 7, verse 179, Satan hypnotizes his constituents. We have committed to hell multitudes of jinns and humans. They have minds with which they do not understand, eyes with which they do not see, and ears with which they do not hear. They're like animals. No, they're far worse. They are totally unaware. God did not leave us with no help and guidance. He sent scriptures and many messengers to guide us and tell us specifically how to worship God alone and grow our souls and give us knowledge and wisdom. There are examples in chapter 2, verse 151, that is the blessing to receive messengers. I'm just paraphrasing. Receive messengers from God that they teach us wisdom, knowledge, they teach us what we never knew. Or in chapter 14, verse 1, it's talking about scriptures. God's scriptures take the believers out of darkness to the light. Our generation is a blessed generation. We have the final testament Quran with all the explanations extracted from it. In Appendix 20, part of the explanations, it points out that Quran is taught by God and teaches us that what we need at the time we need. In chapter 55, Ar-Rahman, the most gracious, verse 1 and 2 says, the most gracious teacher of the Quran. God uses his own attributes for Quran, like Azim means great, Hakim means full of wisdom, Majid means glorious, and Karim means honorable. Quran is also authored by God in chapter 10, verse 37. Only God can author the Quran. This Quran could not possibly be authored by other than God. It confirms all previous messages and provides a fully detailed scripture. It is infallible, for it comes from the Lord of the universe. After the discovery of mathematical code in 1974, we learned how sophisticated this book has been coded beyond anyone's capability. In chapter 2, verse 23, the title is Mathematical Challenge. And God is telling all the jinns and humans, if you can band together, produce one surah like ALMs, because in chapter 2, and God says you can never do this. Since you cannot never do this, then know this is from God, an important message to human race. But people are passed by it heedlessly and don't pay attention. All this shows we have received a message from our Creator, which is like a map full of informations that by following it precisely, we can find our path to God, and true believers can enter His kingdom here and enjoy a perfect happiness now and forever. There is a beautiful footnote in chapter 3, verse 186. The title of 3 186 is one of the inevitable tests that we are going to be tested by our lives and money, and we are hear from the idol worshippers a lot of insult. And the footnote says that after passing the admission test, a lot of tests, the proven worshippers of God alone will enjoy a perfect life here and forever. And this is God's promise, is the fact. Just to elaborate more on the greatest of Quran, we read in chapter 18, verse 109 and 31:27 that says Quran everything we need. Say, if the ocean were ink for the words of my Lord, the ocean would run out before the words of my Lord ran out, even if we double the ink supply. In 31:27 says, these are all the words we need. If all the trees on earth were made into pens, and the ocean supplied the ink, augmented by 7 more oceans, the words of God would not run out. God is Almighty, most wise. These verses emphasizes that anything we need for our salvation is in Quran. The greatest of Quran is not in its volume of its pages, but the depth of information in it. For example, look at the spectrum of the event from the time that great feud happened, which is billions of years ago, to the judgment day, which is a future event that in Quran has been repeatedly mentioned. And look at the huge timeline. God talks about it from what happened and where we go, and between what's going to happen to what happened to the creation of the humans, the universe, what happened to the Adam and Eve in heaven, all those. Or we go to the highest point of prostration in chapter 17, verse 1, that Prophet Muhammad's soul, when Quran was given to him, his soul was up to the point of prostration. It means that the way I understand that's how the submitted creature can stand to be close to God. That's the only part, the only point, the highest point of prostration. And also in Quran, it goes to chapter 4, verse 145, that the hypocrites, they go to the lowest pit of hell. It means that how a shrinking soul on their own volition, they have to run away and go to the lowest point of hell that is farthest from our Creator. Or we learn Quran goes to the cells or to the atoms in chapter 34, verse 3. Some information that 1400 some years ago was given to us, and now probably subhanallah, they're finding out as we get advanced to technology, the more we understand how much information scientifically has been mentioned in Quran. 34:3 says, those who disbelieve have said, the hour will never come to pass. Say, absolutely by my Lord, it will most certainly come to pass. He is the knower of the future. Not even the equivalent of Adam's weight is hidden from him, be it in the heavens or the earth. Not even smaller than that or larger is hidden. All are in a profound record. Or we go to the creation of embryology of human body in chapter 23, verse 12 and 14, how it's formed. I'm not going to repeat those verses, but you guys know. Or the creation of the universe. Nobody knows how many universes are above us. God tells us there are 7 universes, and we are in the innermost and the smallest. The smallest is 26 billion light years. SubhanAllah. Which is mentioned in chapter 40, verse 57. God says that the creation of the universe is even more awesome than the creation of a human being. And 41:9-12 is talking about how all the universes were made, and every universe has their own laws. Also, Quran talks about the creation of animals. I've just bring the example of camel. God says, reflect on the creation of camel. We can have a speech about just that, or the creation of livestock, that they're so useful in our everyday, needs and provisions. We can see the extent of information that Quran covers, and all are controlled and designed by God. And as we grow our soul, God will allow us to have access to more informations and wisdom. This is why reading the Quran and learning from it never ends. God tells us that this book is fully detailed. It covers everything pertaining to our salvation. Knowing God is the main topic that Quran explains, from how to attain his mercy in chapter 7, 156, and learn about his justice, that an atom of injustice will not befall of anyone. In chapter 21:47, it's talking about the scales of justice is going to be set on that day, and an atom of weight of injustice is not going to befall of anyone. By knowing God and know his omnipotence and the fact that he is doing everything and controlling everything, we understand how gross idol worship is. It means giving power to anything beside God that can harm us or benefit us. In chapter 6, verse 106. The footnote of chapter 18, verse 32-42 is talking about different gods, like children, religious leaders, dead saints and prophets, ego, 25:43. The Quran tells us about the angels and their role in our universe and their knowledge and their abilities. There are so much lesson in every part of Quran. For example, in chapter 2, verse 31, we learn that God taught Adam all the names of animals, automobile, the submarine, the space satellite, the VCR, and all the objects to be encountered by humans on Earth. This piece of information tell us a lot about chapter 1785. The title of 1785 is that God's revelation is the source of all knowledge. It is not the Einstein, um, intelligence, or Edison cleverness, or Graham Bell intelligence to for discovery of telephone or electricity, or those. This is God's revelation, inspiration to human race at the time we need. And also, it teaches me and us that also what God taught Adam is God is teaching all the creatures that God is the omniscient knower of all secrets and declarations. He teaches his creatures the things they need at the time they need. And also after that, God asked the angels, present these, what are these? And they said, we don't know. We just have knowledge about things that you have taught us. So, and it shows that angels' knowledge is limited. Is about one thing that I learned also similar to that is in chapter 26, verse 6, that I just want to read it. It says, this is about mathematical miracle of the Quran. This was revealed by the one who knows the secret in the heavens and the earth. He is forgiving, most merciful. So is the secret in the heavens and the earth. Mathematical miracle of Quran, nobody knows about it. Nobody knew. Only God has designed a book that he has this code in it. And God is teaching us, and probably is another lesson for all the creatures, that I want to teach my creatures certain information the other don't have it. We need it because is provide assurance from us that we have received the message from our Creator. But they don't need to know because they're already upholding God's absolute authority. Quran is a book that we get information as we grow our soul and answers our questions in time we need. In 5:101, God says, "Oh, you who believe, do not ask about matters which is revealed to you prematurely would hurt you. If you ask them in the light of Quran, they becomes evident to you." God has deliberately overlooked them. So we be patient. We learn from Quran the most accurate history in 12:3. There are many books in the world that they're talking about World War One, two. What happened to this country? What happened to that person? The most accurate history for our salvation is in Quran. What do we need to learn? We learn not to do the same mistake. We learn that they were the same human being. They received messengers. Miracles were shown to them, but they ignored. And God says in chapter 10, verse 13 and 14, is your turn now. I'm trying to be faster. Also, only God knows the future. This is a very important aspect. 2765, it says, not only he knows the future, he has recorded it too. In 5722, God be glorified. I understand the day of judgment is a future event. No one except God knows exactly what will happen. In Quran, the day of resurrection has been thoroughly explained to us in detail as far as we can comprehend, and the importance of growth of soul and not losing this precious time. In conclusion, we should be very thankful, grateful to God to put this book in our paths. God in 2886, you never expected this book to come to your way. Who would? I would never expected to read Quran in America. I was talking to one of my dear friends. We were talking about our children. We were thinking, what should we do? Should we, take them to Iran? Should we do? And then God provided the best book, the original book for us, for our family, and saved us by God's grace from darkness to the light. Without the information that God has shown us in Quran and His guidance and tell us why we were created, what's the exile from God, what is the freedom of choice, the role of Satan as an ardent enemy, and many, many more aspects, we would not find our path to Almighty God. I want to read 2 verses and finish it, inshallah. It says in chapter 65, verse 11, it's talking about Quran as a messenger of God. It says, a messenger who recites to you God's revelations clearly to lead those who believe and work righteousness out of darkness into the light. Anyone who believes in God and leads a righteous life, He will admit him into gardens with flowing streams. They abide therein forever. God will generously reward him. And in 17:9, Quran are means to salvation. This Quran guides to the best path and brings good news to the believers who lead a righteous life that they have deserved a great recompense. I'm sure there are many points that can be added to my speech, but my time is limited. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
Great, great speech. I actually have a question real quick. There's a lot of new submitters who have just come to the path as of late. We had over, I believe, 30 people who this is the first conference. What brought you to submission, and what was it in the Quran that you saw that made you think this is what I want? This is the path I'm going to follow now.
I believe in chapter 7, verse 75, they asked Saleh the same thing, and the believers who believed with Saleh, they said, who brought you to this message, to the path of God? They answered, the message brought us. I believe all the true believers, They were always looking for the truth. Because God says in chapter 2, verse 257, that the believers, they were in darkness. God guides them from darkness to the light. So when I heard the message, by God's grace, it's a long story, mashallah. A lot of us, we have a lot of history of what happened. We can write a book for that. And I was looking for the truth. And I think truth was in our hearts. And God knew about it. That's why God told the angels that I know what you do not know. God knew some people they deserve to be, give them another chance and show them the guidance. And we know the result. God knows. And angels, they know why God gave us another chance. So the truth brought me to the submission. And mashallah, I'm very grateful to God.
Thank you. Question? Go ahead. Someone?
So,
Question was in reference to the timeline, right? Because the feud happened billions of years ago, and we've been on this planet for a relatively brief
10,000 years. Yeah.
run. What can we share your opinion of that timeline or represent facts in the Quran?
I believe when great feud happened and the creatures were, after, of course, God introduced the plan of redemption, repentance I'm talking about the rebels. The animals, which is the last category, they repented right away. And that's why the planet Earth was created. And that's why the angels took 200 pounds of earth, from here up there. So God created the first body of Adam. So I believe those has been happened. There is no time for God. So all this has been happened simultaneously to me. And and then after that, humans, according to chapter 20, verse 115, we were undecisive. We couldn't make up our mind. Jinns were Satan's partners, they were allies. But the only difference that they have with him, he challenged God. Anyone who challenged God's absolute authority, they're going to be exiled forever. All the disbelievers, look at all the verses in Quran. They always challenge God. They tell the messenger of God, if you're truthful, bring that doom upon us. The minute they say that, they're going to be annihilated. And that's why Satan doesn't have another chance. But still, jinns they have. Even though they did the mistake, they're righteous jinns, Quran talks about it, 46:29, chapter 72. So this is the way I understand. And then the time that God put Adam and Eve as a representative on us in paradise, but their body was on planet Earth. So God knows how many billion of years has taken place, but God talks about it, and that's it. That's how I understand.
Okay, last question before we wrap up. Going to a break. Sean, those of you do anything else, you can do it for the next 30 minutes. And then we have London communities updates. They're going to tell us all the juice of anything that's going on, London community, all the things that you guys want to discuss with us during this conference. They're going to come out there in that community. Anything. Jamal, looking at you. Okay, that's the last question. We're going to go for a 30-minute break. Please be back here by 4. So.
Very awesome discussion. How can you see this statement that the Quran is not incomplete?
Quran is a message of God. In chapter 68, the last verse, this is a message to the world. But a message, written message, okay, is a documented message, is a coded message. Even though it is the message, it has a physical pattern that we don't lose that message. Okay, it's just you send the text, you read it, yeah, but you have the content of that in written somewhere. So Quran has a physical part too. It's 114 chapters, 6,346 verses. But what we benefit is the understanding of these words in any language, the sincere. So it's a combination of both. It's physical and also is a message that God has sent to humanity. But what we learn is the message, the meaning of these words that we alhamdulillah enjoy.
Thank you. Round of applause for this job. Here, unfortunately, they're both. I mean, fortunately, they're both fathers. Like, fortunately, they're both fathers, so I'm just throwing them out. And name tags. Marco's gonna be the foyer. So see you in the Okay. Try. Yes. It was something else.
Yunus.
Oh, you know.
Okay, so okay, stand, but like try to. Is that like the actual center? That center?
It's a little off to the side, but I think that looks nice.
But I'm standing at the actual.
Stay. Now, okay. So now the suggestion was that we move this back from here. Here.
I mean, a little bit, sure, but
Not a little bit, like a lot of it. Like they're saying,
okay, then that means you're gonna have to rotate a little bit because it's getting the screen. We don't want that.
Oh, the thing is, it's not level, huh?
well, no, I mean, I can just lean up against the thing. It's fine.
I
Let's try it here.
Oh,
Other people say
wasn't this your suggestion?
Other people told me to say it to you. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Do whatever works.
It's not that it doesn't work. It's that it's just getting this to the screen.
I see.
So what it does is because it's right, it starts dimming the video. That's
Understood.
the issue.
Okay. Then it can't work.
Hey, can you guys feel? Hey, lovebirds. Can you go like do the
you gotta at least get that level.
level?
How bad would it be to have the
Podium more and for it to be angled towards it.
That's no problem.
Is it level?
Can we try that?
It's leveled, yeah. Okay, Ashcon, bring it more towards that side.
Sure.
Units rotated.
Rot-
No. You want to do that?
Well, let's just see what it looks like.
But now it's getting all those lights.
That's even worse.
So we don't want any light.
It's gonna
What
be
it
great
does
for
is
lighting.
it just saturates the video.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Well,
Then I guess this is where it needs to be.
what?
Rotate to the right.
That's too much.
Okay, that's good. That's the best. You can probably lower it if
I mean,
it.
it's flimsy. So I would need to jam this in between here.
Okay, but you're supposed to lower.
I
Right
can
now,
lower it. I can lower it fine. Oh, lower, you don't want to lower it. You want to angle it down.
okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. For Ashcon, that's perfect. We get just a little flip. Yeah.
Go to bed.
As long as you're.
Okay, so we're good here. But what are you gonna do about that? Is it gonna move? Yeah.
I don't know. You have to put it back here. So.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. Sit there for a second.
It's that time.
Well, it's not shit. That's not shit. No. It's like because what it's doing now.
That's all right. That's all right.
Oh my gosh, it's stuck on the flat. Probably have to like set this like. Yeah. Well, if you need move that table like 1 inch that way, and then this one. Good.
Okay, now everything is off. But okay.
Well, yeah, everything's off. Yeah, that's good. Now move that one at 1. I heard these things are easy to replace. Actually, no. I could hear much from it.
Let me hear your half. So it is. Let me take back your sons.
Italian. I want
Okay.
Yeah, how did that?
Okay, now you have to like rotate it forward a little bit to the right. It's fine. A little more left. It's a little left. You really just bring it back. Okay, stop.
Baba, that's you don't understand. It's like it's not that simple. It's like
Okay, maybe it's not a good idea to put it there because people are gonna be pulling in and out of those chairs. It's gonna knock it over or something.
we go back.
That's the
We
best.
can put it at the edge here. That's like the best we can do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, now you gotta rotate to the right.
Shut up.
Watch a little more than that. Okay. That's that one. And now, like at this point, it's
Well, we can go like actually.
actually
What do you hold?
back. No. Don't go closer.
No. Oh, right. Right. Go back. Now, Eunice, lower the camera. Bring it a little bit forward. You don't go forward though. You stay where you are. Okay, you're good. Bring it down. That's actually great. Okay. That's actually great. It's not like we're there. So, we should have just thought of that. I mean, it's all trial and error. It's not just like, no. There, if you want, Astro, come around. I'll stand there. They'll have to adjust the height, but it'll make sense when you look at it. Go ahead, take a look. Much better. Much better. So it's pretty bright. It's not. No, the lights definitely aren't helping, but this is definitely. Yeah, yeah. So light. Ironically, won't go. I try. There's one thing we can do is you have some tape. Tape, but what's the point? That's the problem. Because these lights are directly above, they're spinning around in the face. Oh no, no, it won't work. But thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's like these lights that are really blinding. Is there wait? Is there should be a way for us to lower the lights a little bit? At least a little. No, it's actually better that way you can put some time. Place in the blinding. So front lights, back. Wow. You're 80. Stand up on the ground. Not ready, folks. So I look good. Hello. 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 You just put the records together. How now? My skin is so white, it's like saturating the picture. What? Yeah. Uh, right. Wait, Malcolm, what are you doing? Oh, is there a way to control just these? Yeah.
In the Italian make the perfect risotto. Right.
What? That's hella light, hella bright. Okay, do it again. Do it again. I think it's in. Try indirect. Try. Oh, oh, that's way better. It's dimmer overall. Now it's brighter.
What? We're just in the light. Why is it light? How you doing? This is Coke Zero. Zero caffeine and zero sugar. I've got a laser pointer. You can point it into the camera. I wouldn't do that to you. In the Italian make. Currently, we're trying to adjust the light so it's a little bit less harsh.
I'm gonna saturate you.
Wireless camera.
He's brand new. Also, we're broadcasting, so just so you guys know.
Yeah.
I've been talking to them and
Henry.
I've been pretending to be Gordon Ramsay for a hot minute now.
Are we actually? You're not actually broadcasting.
You donkey!
No donkey. Where's my swamp? What you done to my swamp? Oh, damn it, dude. Oh shoot.
It's the back of her head. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
Eunice. This fell off.
Sick. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
That's not my problem.
I know what you.
I don't even. Okay, let me just. Let me just. Okay, we gotta move the microphone. What's going on?
I have to rotate this, yeah. But everything's on like ball bearings.
Someone is left their portable charger at the podium. Come get it.
Okay, there you go.
What brand is this?
It's on the side.
Someone has left their anchor. Weak Tom X.
Tom X.
Weak Tom X. 4-way charger. 10,000 milliamps. Portable charger in England. Portable charger in England. That makes sense. This thing, is it weak? Weak Tom X? No? Okay, no. Oh.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's on, by the way.
Oh,
I'm really not sure, hon. So I don't know if it might be.
Can we adjust the settings of this?
Yes.
You can. Maybe don't. It's probably not worth.
Hello, I'm back. I'm back. Some intermission ASMR. Yes. What? I'm back.
What?
I've got Fernan and Mary, Natalia on call here. I hope you all doing normal. You see, it's like 8 a.m. in San Jose. You know, for the longest time, I wasn't able to do the Aussie. I'm talking to our friends online, alright? Bushra gave me a look. I'm just. Now she's sticking her tongue out at me. How rude.
All right, let's see. Go to some. You want to do intermission? I'm just entertaining people here. Well, I mean, the whole world, bro. Whoever's watching. Could be some crazy people. You never know. Yeah, all right. I'll go over there. Bye.
Talk about it. That's the funny thing. They all dropped out. They either it's just funny. They all yes. Some of them soloing is a big messenger of the victory, bro. This guy's such a clown, boy. You don't get a chance to like learn this accent. Wow, so funny. You guys not even personally. I'm not messenger that I know that I know. You're 40. But still, that like I don't know about exactly what Rashad's like thing happened. I think like 48 or something. When he was preaching, he was above 40. Everyone's above 40. This clown's like 36 and 37. Like, first of all, Turkish, Latin, and something. Five minutes more, like, whatever extravagancy you guys said, like, made his name fit 19 very big comments. Five. Someone just fits in there. What's that one? No. I think the vendor could work like this. I think yeah, really big. Like making small enough group of people I can have one. I don't know, is that how it works? I'm doing something you got the job last. Satan's just removing his share. Check it out. Just these society narcissists. I don't know. Actually, I'm just like be working with let's see. So it's funny. They're not a race right now. Because they're definite share to hell with them. So that that's there is well, this guy is pretty trending towards that. So I mean, yeah, Royce. This is what I'm apologist for. The worst is quoting the one that's like those are shoes. That's what I'm pointing to. Depending on the those like points. So that's all that. I mean, yeah, and clown. And his messages, I guess, this is saying he's talking with but it's kind of like great. You were trying to. So, we need to figure out. Oh, good. So you it's not a complex. It's not actually. You can get big yes. It's stupid. Like it really was it's tough. No change. No, everybody is so like I wouldn't even know why they said partnership. Like I think for if I swing to this I think we direct like it's weird. You have words for it, but it's just really just like the English term. You don't have one now. Like, we don't like it. Word like not like just
Assalamualaikum to everyone at home. Assalamualaikum. 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 Who you looking at? Who you looking at?
said Michael, can you please tell me my message? It's weird. The message they were asking, message good ones. Well, the little respond one, be a talk to you because you're not complete. That's no my career. Then say, yeah, what's wrong with your session? Well, the mic can't change your mind. Well, that's the word.
Music and numbers. Yeah. Blackmail. What?
Omid, you and me. Let's get people back in the room.
Hey, is this for YouTube?
Omid, you can talk about this.
Yeah. So just think.
What you Donna said? No, no, wait, don't bring it up yet. Also, no, 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 no. I'm saying the part about coming back for the speech. We'll say that before we.
I agree.
You want to give it another minute before we start? No, for example, should go ahead. Introduction. I'll pass it over to Mary to introduce somebody.
Mary, center.
Here?
So that was center.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Uh, we missed the introductions because someone was sleeping in. Me, just kidding. This is Isla, Margaret, and Zarif. This is her first conference, mashallah. Do you want to say salam? Okay. Yeah, now she's quiet. I know. Oh, eh, eh, mama, mama. Anyway, Masha, she is almost 9 months old, and her favorite thing to do is crawl and climb and drive me a little crazy. But we're working on that, Masha. Yeah, I know. You did, Masha. So this is Isla. If you say hi, just come up, say hi. She's very friendly by God's grace. Now you want to say something? No, you can't eat it. Do you want to talk at the same time? Ba 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 ba. Okay, okay, Mashallah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good conference.
Okay, so the plan is to do the community update. Start with London. I'm guessing Jamal's been voluntold to talk about his community, and then we'll continue with Turkey, Dubai, Norway. We won't do the North America because I'm sure he doesn't work. So you'll hear maybe tomorrow the updates from us. So I'll pass the mic over to Jamal.
Love making me laugh. Still got the voice. Still got the voice. Praise God. Yes, I was nominated to give these updates. I have to say, I've never done this before. I've been to a couple of conferences. I never knew what a community update was. I'm like, what do we do? Do we tell them about the weather? Do we tell them we found an Oompa Loompa on the streets from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I don't know what do we do. I'm gonna try and keep this mic like this. So I think the biggest topic, well, a couple of big topics that I wanted to kind of focus on, which I think we can all share as well, and we probably discuss it in the Quran studies, is this thing about the salat times and astronomical salat times and how that became such a big issue because for us, we've actually been through this for many years because we actually had a fake messenger in London who then moved out of London, and his one of his things was to abolish salat with this timing system and to claim that your prayers are not five prayers, your prayers are only uh, required as and when there is the sun's movement. And obviously, having these conversations with our global family, it was interesting for us that nobody knew about it. It was all brand new. So it came as quite a shock because we were kind of going back, I don't know, 7, 8 years again to try and discuss it all over again. And, this is quite a passionate topic. Everybody's got views on it. But we were set in stone on that. There was no way anybody was going to tell us there is no such thing as five prayers because of where you live. Now, obviously, there's a lot of fringe ideas around it. Like let's say if you live in the North Pole, it's like 6 months of perpetual light and then 6 months of perpetual darkness. My response is, which is what the messenger said as well, actually, in one of his audios, find me a submitter then and we'll talk about it. And I just think, who wants to live there anyway? Who wants to live like that? I mean, how many blackout blinds do you need? And like, when you're going to sleep? But mashallah, actually, just on that topic, I mean, Bushra was pretty new when she joined the community and when that came up. And mashallah, Bushra was right there. She was involved and she kind of got it. And then she was like, talking about the subject. Well, in our communities, it's a reoccurring subject. Every time it comes around, we always end up having to talk about it. But we've got into a system of sending out regular reminders. And again, it's important to share that we are not creating laws here. We're just doing the best we can with what God has given us. That's all we're doing. Nothing more than that. But one thing we know is you do not abolish five prayers. You always have five prayers. Um, so that's that. We actually, there was a new member in our community who joined maybe 8, 9 months ago, well, last year. And Morteza Faranak, you'd met him, Payam too. And he'd been with us for, I don't know, 4 months or so, 5 months. And there was a guy on the internet, YouTube guy. Some of you might know him. I don't know his actual name, but he's made it his life's work to create YouTube videos that try that well, he's trying to destroy the message of submission. he's trying to break down the code and he's trying to like show that the translation's incorrect and all of that. So Amir um, was already in contact with this individual, and he doesn't mind me sharing this story, I don't think, because you've already met him anyway. So, but by God's grace, not to go into too much more detail, he came to his own realization when there was quite a few concepts this guy had which were flawed, and he realized that himself. So then he came back actually just last week, and he came back on one of the biggest Jummahs and Quran studies we ever had. So we were really happy for him. He's back now. We kind of had a good conversation with him. And he's like, no, this is the path and this is where I am now. So that was really nice. But we always said, you know, if you ever want to reform, we've had a lot of conversations about people leaving the community, dropping out, all these kind of things. We, in the UK, we always tell these people, whatever the situation is, you're welcome back if you want to repent and reform and reset your ways. The doors are always open. Now, we would never close the door when somebody who wants to amend their ways. And it's just proven an asset for our community. And he seems very happy that he's back. And he saw the Oompa Loompa too for us. There is one topic that I think we're going to discuss during the Quran studies, and it's that topic of alcohol, the hot and spicy alcohol topic. So we're very keen to have a amicable conversation around that. In terms of our community, majority of us have the same understanding, maybe less one or two people, but we at the minute don't think it's correct or proper to be buying that stuff and putting it in your food or anything like that, especially when you can buy alcohol-free options. Right? If you like wine in your food, buy alcohol-free wine. You like beer in your food, buy alcohol-free beer. I don't see why you have to kind of go through this process of hoping that you've cooked it out and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, what we do know is that we're discussing this topic with our family and faith. Our family and faith do not want to promote or spread Satan's abominations. We love our family very dearly, and we just want to come to a united understanding here. And I think I definitely discussed this in a probably heated manner because I'm quite passionate about that topic. But now I've kind of learned to be like, no, hold on a second. This is your family and faith. Who are you talking to? These are like some of the best people in the world. What are you chatting about? So I'm very, so I'm very much open to learning and listening and also taking on the warnings. Like Brother Q has made it very clear that we should not create any new innovations and prohibitions. It's very important, and I value him very much for that. Really? I've got 3 minutes left. I thought I had half an hour. Oh. Oh, okay, we started late. All right, let me race on then a little bit. We have been talking quite a bit about the pronunciations of Arabic words, like dhikr. We do hear a lot of people saying zikr, which is like an Urdu thing, but it is the. It's like in your salat, al-ladina. Some people say al-lazina. That's a big topic we've discussed. You really do have to pronounce that stuff correctly, even if it's written in English phonetics with a Z. It doesn't mean you pronounce the Z. It's just a phonetical presentation of an Arabic word, but the Arabic word is the like that. So that's a big one. Um, and I'm just going to end on the biggest, happiest news ever. We had a homegrown marriage in our community, as you all know, Ennis and Lucy, mashallah. So yeah, that was like the cherry on the cake for us this year, and we're so happy for them, and yeah, many more happy times to come, inshallah. That's it. Thank you.
Next up then would be Rabia from the Turkey community.
No.
Okay, thank you. Salam alaikum. We are only 3 people in Istanbul, Turkey. My brother Mohammed and my sister Anahita and me. Istanbul is really a big city, but thank God, Mohammed's house is very close to my house, so we can do our extra Quran study beside our Jumas. But the issue is that since Mohammed's first language was Persian, our terms is Persian, and that's why من یکمی فارسی بلدم. Trust me, it's fantastic. By the way, Mohammed also wants to immigrate to the USA, inshallah. Mohammed also wants to immigrate to USA, inshallah.
The same brother, they'll be all first.
But I pray that he'll not do this. He doesn't live. He will not live. I'm sorry for my poor English. Okay. He will not leave Istanbul before me so that I can perform my Jumas until the last moment, inshallah. I'm a little selfish about it. And I'm truly grateful to God for having my submitter brother and sister nearby. But I have to admit, we all 3 miss submitters and appreciate belonging a truly great community. That's why I'm so happy for today. And these are news from Istanbul, Turkey community. Thank you so much.
And now I'm going to sing your name directly for your class.
Salam alaikum, everyone. You can probably tell I'm from Dubai because I had to change my clothes because it was so freezing in here. I live in the desert. I do love the desert. Just to clarify, Dubai community consisted of just myself and my daughter until about a month ago. There are several communities in Dubai and in the UAE, many of them from Chennai. And I know that, through San Jose, we've had a lot of discussions about them not standing firm with God and us doing so. So praise God. At the beginning of this year in January, my daughter and I, even though she's only 11, I do entice her to have these conversations. We had a discussion, and we ended up having a straightforward discussion with the community that we were praying with about the contentious topics of 4 meats, of circumcision, and we had a very clear, straightforward answer, which we haven't had from in the last 2 years that we were praying with them and being with them. We had a very clear and concise comment, which made us just say, you know what? We are going to stand firm with God and we are not going to be praying with you. And we just left. Alhamdulillah, God has blessed us recently. If any of you do know me, you know I'm not shy. I'm very straightforward. I'm probably the most straightforwardest person that you'll know. I will not hide behind anything. I'll tell you what I think and feel. Sorry to people. But yeah, so I speak to anyone and everyone about submission, even in Dubai. And a lot of people say how, but that's just my nature. And praise God, in my daughter's school, as with every school in the UAE, they have a prayer room. Everyone in that school knows that we are practicing Islam, but not in a traditional way, and we do not pray in the prayer rooms. So anytime I go to collect my child from school, if it's time for Duhur or Asr, they provide me with a room where I can go and do my prayers. And it's encouraged lots of conversations with a lot of so-called Muslims in the school. And God blessed us with a family that has recently joined us. my sister Zahira, her name is Zahira, I've introduced her to submission by God's grace, and God has guided her. And I really like see how God guides, because just immediately everything just makes sense to her. She's always messaging me while I'm away, telling me about the videos that she's watching from the Messenger of the Covenant and how things are like really making sense to her. And she has two twin daughters that are 7 years old, Yasmin and Nadia. So a little shout out to them, because they as well, Tamina, my daughter, has been teaching them how to do their wudu, how to pray, how to say Bismillah when they're eating. And mashallah, it's slowly, God willing, we will grow and be a bigger community. And we look forward to welcoming you all over to Dubai to pray with us, to do Quran studies with us, and inshallah have a conference right there in the Lion's Den. I will happily organise it, and inshallah welcome you all. Thank you, Ian, and see you soon. Thank you.
So much. Our last update would be Kiara from Norway, but we just want to make sure we didn't miss any global communities. So we want to open the floor. If there is anybody here that represents a small community or anywhere, please by all means. No, we're not US. Sorry, outside of the US. Global.
Well,
Okay. If nobody wants to, then we can move on to Kiara.
yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. I will not, maybe I just stand a little bit, but not so much, because I'm a very movement person.
It's okay.
So
As long as you move in this area.
no, I can just, as long as they hear my voices, it's not so much important for
Yeah.
who I am. It's not so much important.
Yeah.
So, um, I start with that. Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, I am like.
So, but I'm also talking really loud though. So I was actually very sleepy, thanks God. To get my energy back. So like I helped me, especially with language barriers. Um, English my fourth language. So that's why I wrote it many notes in Persian or in mixture of everything. So but I thought it maybe it's the best way if you have a speech, especially all of us know the Quran, of course. So I don't need to read so much Quran for you guys, without doubt, because all of us every day read the Quran. We are knowing the Quran. Some of us have been in the path more than 10, 15, 20. And the thing is, I want to more just talking about some issues, because my speech actually is three parts. Quran language, and also I will speak about freedom, which is very important, not just for submission, but also for the whole world, because everybody looking for freedom. And also the last part, which is very important for us, because that was actually one of the reasons actually I wanted to do this speech, was unity, because we see so many things happen in the UK, all around the world, the submitted community, which is so important. How many we are and then what we stand for is very important. So then I will start, God willing, with the first part, which is language. So it's not so much about it, but more at how I experience the language in the Quran. Not in the mathematical way, but mostly as we see. I think I need to put my glasses. So I'll first start with the joke, because everybody wake up a little bit at me, myself also. So, but it's a wise joke, that it was a wise man walking in the court, so of the king, and then it was shouting it, "Oh, the Lord of the universe!" And then he said, I'm not the Lord of the universe." He said, "Yeah, you are the Roman king and all these, all the country around you and everything." So I'm not the Lord, the king of Rome and anything. And he said, So I am the king of any name you can name it, because that was actually Persian, kind of like wise man talking. So I don't use those Persian names. So then, and then the wise man told the king that if you are none of these, why you are sitting so high? Come with me, like a servant, But both of them are equal. I think for me, I will start with that because I'm just servant. Just all the creature in the world, all the trees, all the animal, all the one we see or unseen, and human. Doesn't matter which category you are. So all of us. So I think who I am, I'm the servant of God. If I come in that level, then I see everything, everybody equal. It doesn't matter who you are, which nationality you are, which language you're speaking, how even you're thinking, which religion you have. Because that's Quran starts with, which Rashad Khalif also start with that. I think it was two I wrote it. Let me see. I will start with the one of the verses in the Quran, which is talking about languages. More proofs. Among his proofs are the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the variation in your languages and your color. In these, there are signs for the knowledgeable. Because I can see, which is I go further when I talking. One of the even God says that in the Quran, and we know actually that so much of important. But what is important? Communication. Any language that myself have learned in my life, it isn't like that. I like that language. I like sound of it. There was nothing to do with that thing. I was just wanted to communicate with the human being. It doesn't can be Persian because I was in Pakistan, also in Norway, and later on in US. But here also we have at a submitter we have a common language, which is the Quran. But of course, we don't one of us speak English. For example, even I can speak English, but honestly, I read Quran in Persian from the beginning to the end. I did it. Still, I doing it because that's the language in my heart. Because that's the language I understand most. Because it's my tongue language. It's not because I'm preferring one language to other. Because the important part, I understand Quran. Not, oh, this was like that. Then I can say everybody should, as a past they did it. Everybody should it in Arabic. Why we don't do it in Arabic? Because the Quran came in Arabic. Mathematically, the Quran is in Arabic. So how can we read the Quran in English? But of course, Messenger of Covenant, because the US is the branch God going to be the center of the submission, did it. But it doesn't mean and you need to, read the English Quran. That's actually one of those because earlier this morning I talked. Because one of the things I did when I came to the conference, I talked with different subjects with the people just to know how they think, just observation. All these years I came from US, I attend the Quran study, I talk to people, I read the different scripture, and so my thinking was that I need to understand people because if I don't understand you guys, how can I be unite with you? Since later I'm going to say what's actually make us to be united, because it seems that actually we are not quite united. I will talk a bit kind of harsh in that matter, very straightforward. Not because nothing is everything is bad, but somebody should at least say something honestly. And I don't have any problem to do that because I already submitted to God. Maybe was Ramazan actually I was had a speech, which is submission for me is life. Otherwise I wouldn't be alive. I probably was dying. Because I didn't have was interest in that. I wasn't depressed. But nothing was kind of like exciting in this life. So what? Well, okay, go do the education, travel to different parts of the country, go visit your mom, or whatsoever. One of the reasons I didn't die was actually from my mom. Because my mom already experienced truth throughout my brother died. So I don't want to do that. But thanks God, because we know that the doing take of your life is not waiting, and is a big sin. So I'm grateful for that one. So, but I will talk a little bit about the language of the Quran, which is not about the mathematical part of it, but mostly about the part which is, I remember first time I read the Quran. So what is actually very catch, me, my eyes and my heart, which is, wow, who is talking? I have read so many books in different languages, in different subjects. Nobody had that tone. Nobody had that sound. When you read it, you can feel the Almighty. You can feel the presence. You can feel the power of God, and that's actually in big energy. Because I didn't know about the mathematical at the moment, which is I heard it, but it wasn't so fascinating me. But later on, of course, now mathematics is kind of miracle just helped me in that sense that every time if I kind of feeling a little bit, maybe this is not right, and then I go read these verses of Alif Lam Mim, so and under that it says these are the word from God. To be sure, these are them. So this is the part of actually the language, because my main actually subject is going to be unity, which is I think we lack a lot. Maybe I sound very maybe I don't know, maybe unappreciative, which is I'm not, because some of you I know, some of you I don't know. But I think what will happen is I will talk about freedom this time, because I think freedom, which is the human beings, you can say aim, because that's English for her. The aim of all from the, I don't know, from the Moses time, from before that, from Iran, from all the countries you have been, even Pakistan I have been, so they were also one of a freedom about the religion, which is they are separated from India. So and many other countries, the Gandhi, it just also happened the same thing. So freedom is very important. If you ask me, I was speaking actually recently since the conference, announcing the conference, I was thinking, I want to talk about freedom. Because I live in a country which is a very big country, but at the same time, how come this freedom doesn't make you, satisfied? Why people still have a depression? Why people still have sadness? What's happening on? Norway is a very rich country, very safe country, has so much value of everything. Because it doesn't have so many people, 4.5 million people is not so much. And recently they find oil, which is make them enormous, rich. I praise God. That was blessing of God. So obviously, we as a submitter, I think submission by self, submitting by self is submission by self is actually freedom. It's another freedom because everybody just they have a gods like their job, how they look like, where they should live, how they should walk, how they should talk, what kind of husband they should have, what kind of wedding, just example, have, or all these not by me, and all these things they have it. So all these are kind of making you change and holding you back of that freedom which is God taught you to have. So I will I will say the critical advice here, I think was freedom I was just talking. This verse actually dawned on me because I was listening to so much speech, during the before conference, and I never look at this verse in that sense, in that light. So Abu Dhabi Shaitan 1736. You shall not accept any information unless you verified it for yourself. I have given you the hearing, eyesight, and the brain, and you are responsible for using them. I think it's very important. God says, that is my understanding now at that line. And you can see the freedom God gave every human being, not just the free will, but also those people who are maybe against us. Maybe they have different understanding. They have got that chance in this world to live here. So God gave them that freedom. And then God says, okay, you can also come and inform people. But this is us, which is we reading the Quran, we're choosing the path, and God will guide us because our heart is with God, and our heart, recognizes truth, which is God says in the Quran. Because our heart, which is the important part that probably many of you experience love, but all of the love is not love, but you will see. But God says your heart should be God's place, not enemy's. If you ask me, before I did that mistake, I made the people once, to my heart. And then I realized that, these people, which is they are going to disappearing, they are dying, there's so much lack of everything. Why should love them? It doesn't mean I don't love them. I love God, and because I love God, I love every single creature you have. The door, the butterfly, the smile of a child, the hair, I don't know, name it, whatsoever. Because when you enter that kind of mindset, you can see beauty almost in everything. And I think this is also one of those, which is you can enter that God says you start the heaven from here and to there, which is up. So the next one, God will come on says, that's it. This part, I don't want to share my understanding so much about unity, but I will just bring up the subjects because it seems that now we have in the world, God willing, all the submitter around the world hear that, or at least the one God will, they will hear that. So we had in Turkey, I think they have going to be Vancouver, and now we have it here. How come you are not so many? And where is and everybody said, oh no, these are not Semites, you're Semite. First of all, I didn't say that, people doesn't, they should agree with everything because I myself can stand with everybody, against them if they are not Quran. But of course, God's okay. Sorry, but okay. Sorry. But you needed to where was yeah. But I was just thinking that we need to find a way to communicate. We need to put our ego, which is I will just mention because I don't have so much time, and leave it to you guys. Because I was reading about Socrates, and Socrates was one of the philosophers, which is actually was very interesting. He was questioning people until he find where they are standing. I think all of us, we need personally, individually, as a community, asking ourselves where we stand. It doesn't seem to be. It seems that they can, cheering and everything. Oh, we are so strong believer. I don't deny that. Many of us choose that path, and I know we are in this path. I have done so many mistakes myself. I know also I choose this path, but I'm long grateful. So I will say, of course, Satan is the biggest. Maybe Satan doesn't do anything, but Satan, what to do? Whisper, do the conflict between the believers. Oh, she's short, she's, young. He's talking better. That the other person talking back. I don't know. Whatsoever, human being experiences. We need to think about it. Otherwise, why are we different from other people all around the world? Why are we thinking so highly of ourselves? Be humble. The humbleness is actually much more, kind of like you can look hard to. So I will read I read the verses and I will read those and I'm done. Unity of all submitters. 262. Surely those who believe, those who are Jews, the Christian, and the convert, anyone who believes in God and believe in the last day and the righteous life will receive their recompense from the Lord. They have nothing to fear, and nor will they go. This is very strong statement, if you ask me. Nothing to fear. Even, I don't know if at the time I can say one experience, but I'm just going on if at the time I can do that. So how to attain unity? I just wrote some of the point and I'm done. 2 minutes. So sitting. Oh, that was actually talking. I was sitting with the Sanaz and his family. So I was. It is a good point to bring. So many new submitter, and I don't know why you guys sitting with the people you already know in your community. You don't want to know other people. You are so comfortable. Oh, I want to just be hanging with them. How can you kind of expect the unity then? I don't know. I mean, it seems that we are not so into Quran sometimes. During the difficult time, all of us know the God system. We don't need to point it. Oh, you did wrong. Everybody knows. Whoever read Quran knows. We need to support each other, to grow, to establish, to do more of that support in the world. Encouraging each other, not backbiting. Unfortunately, it exists. Finding excuse for each other to look good instead of bad, to find the lack, instead of strength. Knowledge open the door for you. Act on it. I was just bringing glass. It seems so many people have full glass. How can you have more knowledge then? Sometimes just put it down and fill it again. Because if your cup is full, then God will not fill it. Because you are the ego, oh, I know everything. Honestly, if you ask me, the baby was here. I don't know who I am, and I don't know nothing. Because then, if every time I read the Quran, the new light is opening. And you can learn the new thing. Then it's not going to be boring for you. Because this path is shining path. This path is glorious path. If you just how many minutes? Oh, I'm done. Okay. So this path should be, all the attribute of God. If it is not, then we should ask ourselves. God says, call my name and get closer. So you become like God, not as a God, but because God's living in you. So, and the last one is be servant of God. For those who think, then think and reflect. I think sometimes we don't do so much reflection. So it is also important. I will just go and read the disputes list, which is very long, but I'm just going to read part of it. So just for talking, and then I end with the verse, and that's it. Common disputes. I will start with Satan, our ardent enemy. It seems that you are lost and we don't know who is our enemy. See, we are against each other instead of Satan. Ego is very important part. Perfect happiness, which this is also another dispute. Circumcision, for me, word of God, which was the strong one of the strong one, and second also. When to start contact prayer, when to stand up for the contact prayer, what is the bat? What's the language of the Quran? You should read in the English. Which language is she? How you should do the zikr? Which language you should do the zikr? Reading, okay. And then insurance and do the Friday prayer online, and the list is going on. I wanted to do this list to see where I'm standing myself and what we should do about it. I know we're going to talk so much about these subjects, so it's very important to do that. We need to open our heart to each other, and the way we talk to each other is lighten up. Instead of I see lack in you, I should see your soul. If you ask me, I'm not my body. I'm not what you see. That's why I say, who cares? You see who I am. Nobody see myself, even not myself. The only thing maybe I can recognize how I feel. How I feel in my heart. Where I stand with others. Do I backbite? Do I not support other believers? Or maybe it's not that because I'm weak, I do something. But do I reflect on it? And forget, some people, we need to forget, even we do the wrong thing against each other, we need to forgive. Because that doesn't matter. This life indeed is vanity. And I'm done. I'm just reading that verse. 22:15, which is one of the verses which I love in the. Mm. Maybe that was a thing. That's good. So I'm gonna end up with this one. It's also maybe related to the one Mariam also talk about the God system. Happiness now and forever. If anyone think that God cannot support him in this life and the hereafter, let him turn completely to his Creator in heavens and severe his dependence on anyone else. He would then see that his plan eliminates everything that's bothering. Praise God. That's it.
All right, we're gonna take some questions. I already had some people inform me. We have, all right, we have a lot. Okay, I'll let Shannon go first.
Selamünaleyküm everyone. Guys, should I be standing up or?
Yeah, no. Stand up.
Yeah, use this.
What's the same time? Assalamualaikum everyone, and thank you so much for your speech, Manfala. This is why it's so important for us when we come to conferences. We try to align our understandings and learn about each other a lot more. So, I think from what I understood from your speech, I feel like maybe there's a confusion between the definition of unity and the definition of understanding certain topics, because I truly feel that I am united with these people. All right, because our beliefs are aligned, right? We all have the same kind. We all worship God alone. Yeah, the principles are all there. Okay. If we're talking about different communities of so-called submitters like Tucson or Campbell, whatever, of course we're not united with them. They're not even, they're not submitters. They may be named submitters, but they're not. So I'm a little bit, I'm trying to understand a little bit better. To me, I feel like, and I just want to confirm this. Did you mention that that we're not much into Quran if we're not sitting with each other? I became a little confused at that point because I think you mentioned like I talked to someone and why aren't we mingling with different communities? Why are we all hanging out with people that we like or we know each other?
No, I was just telling sometimes that, for example, when we have come to the conference, so it's good to be sitting with the new people to get know each other, so get more connected to each other.
Oh, okay. So, mashallah, that's a great idea. And, a lot of times we do that. And some of us have not seen each other. We've known each other for a while and we're from different communities. So when we do see each other, we're excited to sit with each other as well. So give it time. This is the first day of our conference. So inshallah, we're going to have more time to mingle with everybody else. But I just wanted to make it clear that our hearts here, we are united with each other. Our belief is the same. We try to learn things about the a question about online Friday prayers, which I believe is not right because it's not what God says. We have to come together for a Friday prayer, and so on and so forth. A lot of those topics, I think they're just matters to discuss them. But just because we're trying to learn and come to a certain understanding doesn't mean we lack unity. Okay, this is how I understand it. And maybe somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong.
Of course,
Yeah, thank
you.
Of course, God will.
We'll take more questions. We're good on time.
So everybody. So I heard kind of following up the Chapman, comment, but I have a question that because you mentioned that we are not united, I want to know what is your understanding of unity. I feel like as Chapman said, our unity is basically we're united, all of us based on the Quran. Because we follow God's commandments, we follow the teaching that God has sent us through the Western Covenant. Then if we have all of us, following that, don't deviate from that, we are united. And so how do you see unity? Because And unity is not, being in the same place in one masjid, in one place, it's not a space, that unify us. It's the belief that unify us. So how do you see the unity?
I said, I think in my speech that unity for me is God. Because God is everything, doing everything, right, everything, our existence.
Can you be more specific? Because that's more like a philosopher.
It's not lost described in the Quran. Because La ilaha illallah wa tadahi. There is nobody except God. What is the 22:15? Whatever you're leaning on. Is it even not the slide of the one thing? So you're already doing something else in the world.
I mean, I don't want to go back. I understand that, God, of course, is slow at the beginning. We all believe in him. But there are so many people that actually believe in him. If you see him as Lord of the universe, but then they're idolizing, idol worshiping. Some even call themselves, submitters. We're not united. So there's a specific thing that unites us, following commandments, scripture, strict scriptures, and following everything that came to us. That unifies us. So see it like that. When somebody calls themselves a bitter and then they go have other ideas and they're not united.
Can I say?
Absolutely, yeah.
It was very good. Everybody can share because that's the freedom. If you ask me, everybody can share their understanding. How did anybody talk about it? I don't have any problem with it. Because at the end of the day, it shows that our feelings. And if I just get a reminder and spread reminder, I told everybody now, and I'm taught it's very clear. Maybe some of the things I say maybe harsher than that exists. But I will just want to kind of shaping them. Just make me as we feel. Go one step forward. So instead of just, kind of defending, and instead of kind of explaining, we should take heed and think about it. That's it. But of course, is still anybody against it? Because God's running everything, and that's not absolutely okay.
Okay. All right. We're in this funny period of time where technically we're kind of ahead, but not enough time for another speech. So if you're comfortable, would you want? I saw a lot of hints.
Just
Sure.
of course.
The last.
Of course.
So, Victor, this is a topic that comes up a lot, and I agree that unity is definitely important, but we have to be aware of false unity. And that's something that is really big in people who call themselves submitters but actually aren't. At the end of the day, the true believers are in the minority. And even when the time of victory comes and submission prevails, the true believers will still be in the minority. Most of the people are just going to be following the crowd. And at the end of the day, it is better to have something a little smaller that's genuine than to have hundreds of people in a community and pretend that you believe the same thing. And we've seen so many communities go through this, and if you go into these, most of these communities that preach this, that are like, we have to be united, they're the least united. And yes, here sometimes it seems like, oh, we're gonna come at each other's throats and stuff like that. Maybe perhaps we could debate in better ways. But at the end of the day, the passion is there because we want to be on the same page. In these other communities, you can't even bring up controversial topics. It's like hush hush. It's confidential. It's censored. Is what I'm trying to say. It's really important that we all believe the same thing, and it is so much better to actually do believe in the same thing and have those difficult conversations than to actually sit there and be like, this is my best friend. She doesn't. This is not true. She doesn't believe in insurance, but like besties, that's not real, and that's fake, and that's compromising. And compromising is a plague that's going through so many communities right now. I just lost like 20 people in the New York City community due to compromising, and our community went from like 20 to 3. I guarantee you now, 3 people that believe the same was infinitely stronger than 20 who had no idea.
I also think it's worth noting one of the best aspects of the Submitters All Getting Together conference is really uniting all of our beliefs. Okay, well, hold on. I don't want to choose too many San Jose people because I don't want to show my bias right now.
Yeah, also the stands. Praise God. They are not.
And I go, isn't that care? Definitely lost kind of. I really loved your speech, Marshall. I thought it was really great. I loved the lovely reminders you had about being humble and open and truthful and always learning because that's what we're all here for. My question, I guess, was you made a beautiful statement about saying that people need to see each other's heart and the real you, which is the soul, because this is just like a facade and the real you is the soul. I guess my question is, how do you personally recognize like another submitter in that sense, like the real soul? How do you like in my experience, the first time when I did the corporate like years ago, it was very very blissful for me in terms of the number of people that I met that I felt like, oh my god, these are like my soul mates. Like there's like so many that I could have like met and thought, wow, we have the same story. So I guess yeah, that would be my question. That how do you see somebody's heart or real soul? Like how do you recognize that?
Praise God. That was a good question, and of course, so many things to think about that part. But I will see God says in the Quran, you can recognize from the way they talk, not just submitting, but other people also. When I go, for example, to the grocery, when I go to the school for work, I recognize this person really is submissive. Maybe he's in a journey, maybe after 1 year, maybe 2 years. Maybe when they hit the wall and fell down, broken, and then realize, because all the human being, most of it, we are looking for happiness. This is not all these, self-help people, all these things happening in the world, because people looking for that. But of course, they're going to wrong direction.
Okay, 2 minutes left. There's still a lot of hands. People are giving me daggers. Jamel, I'm not that scared of him, so I'm okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Kiara. You mentioned language, and you briefly mentioned dhikr. Could you clarify your dhikr? Dhikr. All right. So could you kind of clarify your understanding of that? Because as we know, in a community, for example, in Quran studies, you want to have a Quran study in a language that everybody understands. So how would you apply that way of thinking when it comes to dhikr?
I think when it's coming to the Quran, it's maybe a little bit different from the Zikr. Because even Messenger of God said, read always that language the person understands. Doesn't matter which one. I will not prefer to read English because honestly, that's not my strong language. And I don't have so much time to, putting my effort to that. I prefer to working on, my the verses I needed and understand the book and find out how can I guide my life. But when it comes to the Zek, I don't say that you need to read it, in very I don't know, understanding, which is we didn't do. But the question is raised, which is everybody know that. Then I think that show me actually we are not quite how to read it. Because Zikr is just more the matter of thought, not matter of language. If you read the Zikr and it doesn't touch your heart, at least I wouldn't want to read the Zikr at all. If you ask me. Usually I do. And after I didn't do the Zikr in UK after the things happened. Because it came to my mind. I remind that verse in the Quran, which is 80 and 99 sheep and one sheep. Even me, as one person, which is speaking Norwegian, which I didn't have so much Norwegian, like I didn't like that. So, but everybody just, I think, oh, we should have Norwegian. Is it that, that's the kind of like justice looking for others and then be, supporting each other. What is going on if I read it maybe 2, 3 sentence, which is not wasn't so long, and I translate it and not so up, and then suddenly you act. So that's true actually. We are not respecting everybody's language in the world because we're thinking, okay, just English, Arabic, and this one. Actually, these are privileges, if you ask me. But everybody can have their meaning. Because for me, freedom is so important. Because freedom makes you so free as you want to fly.
Okay, all right. It's pretty clear God wants us to talk about this.
Yeah,
We can't take any more hands. I was getting a text, people were offering me money. Crawler, they're not gonna follow me. Thank you. We're gonna move on to our next speaker, God willing. Which is Hannah.
Absolutely.
And just a quick reminder for everyone, not just Kiara, to be mindful of the cabling here. Sorry. Is this the one?
And you got make sure you got one.
Do what one?
Make that nice one.
Oh, okay. One more time, just for all the speakers to please be mindful of all the wiring and cabling here. It's all of our setup is going through that.
Yes.
So do I. So do I. Do I start? Yeah? Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How we doing? Good, good, good. I just wanted to ask, can we give a big round of applause to Omid and all the other people that were, mashallah, it's not an easy job, but they're smashing it so far, so praise God. So, as you can see by the title, my speech is titled How to Be a Winner. Now, I don't have the clicky thing for the slide, so
Oh, right here.
is it there? How does it work?
You click it. Right up here. Right. Yeah.
The bottom one?
If it doesn't work, point it that way. If it doesn't work anyway, punch it. Just kidding. Something right.
Click on the bottom. Ah, lovely. All right. Is
It's off. On the side.
okay, it's off.
It's off.
Technical difficulties. Thanks very much. Praise God.
Let's do it for you.
And can you give a round of applause to the tech team as well, please? MashaAllah. We're doing everything. Lovely, 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 lovely. All right, so yeah, as you can see, it's how to be a winner. Now, I want to start this with a little bit of an introduction about me, myself, my early life. So you're probably wondering what's that on stage. These are pictures that involve me. This little cute guy there, that's me, and then one of the big rugby players in the back is me somewhere. Now, I used to love playing a lot of sports. I still do from time to time, but when I was younger, especially, I used to love playing a lot of sports. And not to blow my own trumpet or anything, but I was good. I was good. And it had a lot of winning involved, mashallah. Um, yeah, thanks, Lucy. Thank. Um, but the reason as to why I wanted to put that slide up there is because, no matter what event it was, no matter, how many trophies I won, no matter how many medals, I managed to gain, mashallah, through this whole process. One thing I learned about submission is the worldly things that you win in this life mean nothing. But what does mean something is to be a winner in the eyes of God. Next slide. Oh, I've got the thing. So I wanted to start off with a verse, 3104. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let there be a community of you who invite to what is good, advocate righteousness and forbid evil. These are the winners. Now, one of my favorite sayings, and something that you guys have probably heard me say if you tune into the UK studies, is that submission is designed for us to win. Now, like the verse that I just read, and many other verses in the Quran,
the Quran actually talks a lot about winners. Simply put, being a true believer is the same as being a winner. Now, why should we want to be winners? I'm going to read you a few verses that actually describe being a winner in the Quran, and I just want you to pay attention to the language. 23:102. As for those whose weights are heavy, they will be the winners. 23:111. I have rewarded them today in return for their steadfastness by making them the winners. 9:20. Those who believe and emigrate and strive in the cause of God with their money and their lives are far greater in rank in the sight of God. These are the winners. 59:20. Not equal are the dwellers of the hellfire and the dwellers of paradise. The dwellers of paradise are the winners. Rewarded them. Dwellers of paradise, far greater in rank. These are the words used in reference to the winners. Notice how these are also things that believers strive for on a day-to-day basis. We strive to be dwellers of paradise. We strive to reap God's rewards, and we should be striving to get as close to God in the hereafter as possible by attaining the highest of ranks. These are just some of the reasons why we should all want to be winners. Now let's talk about some more reasons why we should want to be winners. I need some of you guys' help here. What are some of the things that God promises the believers? Put your hands up. Let's see.
Support from him.
Okay, I'm taking hands. Hanan, I saw Hanan. Wealth, okay, I saw you. Health, Jamal. Protection, Dina. Guidance, happiness. Love, security. Victory, guidance. We're all pretty much saying the same things here. And ultimately, God promises us the best of the best. I want to talk to you about perfect health, wealth, and happiness. This is something that God promises us. In a nutshell, a perfect life. This is what God promises, and this is something God can give, as long as we follow God's laws. The Messenger of the Covenant talks about this in Audio 1, actually. He says, God is the one who controls your happiness and misery. God doesn't make us miserable. We make ourselves miserable. God controls our wealth. If we follow God's law, we are guaranteed a perfect life and perfect happiness. Piggybacking off Umar's sermon last week, God makes us kings and queens on earth. 24:55. God promises those who believe and lead a righteous life that he will make them sovereigns on earth, as he did for those before him, and will establish them the religion he has chosen for them, and will substitute peace and security for them in place of fear. All this because they worship him alone. They never set up any idols besides him. Those who disbelieve after this are the truly wicked. This is God's promise. Sovereigns on earth, all because we worship God alone, without setting up any idols besides him. If we want to become kings and queens on earth, then we have to evaluate our actions and intentions very carefully at every opportunity. Perfect happiness. How can we achieve happiness through submission to God? Our priority in this life should be to fulfill God's commandments. In order to know our purpose in life, we have to know why we're here. 51:56. I did not create the jinns and humans except to worship me alone. Knowing that God made us to worship him alone, we have to live a life that will please God. What pleases him more than what we say is our actual intentions and actions to carry out his commandments. The idea that keeping God's law is the source of happiness is not limited to just the Quran. We can see this idea in the Bible, the book of Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained, but happy is he who keeps the law. When pleasing God by keeping his commandments becomes the most important aspect of our life, then God will make everything good for us. This is a promise from God. Perfect health. Not even the smallest of illnesses will affect us. No headaches, no colds, no scratches, nothing. We won't know how it feels to be sick. The messenger even says we will forget what a headache feels like. Imagine a life of no paracetamol. That's God's promise.
Perfect wealth. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and say that you guys are going to have Jeff Bezos kind of money, because you probably won't. But you'll never have to worry about anything financially. You always have enough money for what you need in this life. You'll never be short on rent or the mortgage, and never not have enough money for groceries. You will be perfectly secure for the life that you live. And protection from God. God protects the believers and never lets them fall. If you do your part, God does his part and defends you against your enemies. Other people and the devil can scheme as much as they want, but ultimately, God will be with you, looking out for you, so long as you're righteous and you stand by him. Proverbs 3:25-26. Have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be at your side and will keep your foot from being snared. Now back to the original question. What makes a winner in the eyes of God? Winners are defined as those who believe in the unseen, do their contact prayers, give to charity, believe in God's revelations, and are certain about the hereafter. Also, communities of winners invite to what is good, advocate righteousness, and forbid evil. Some more verses to help you out. 9:20. Those who believe and emigrate and strive in the cause of God with their money and their lives are far greater in rank in the sight of God. These are the winners. 9:88. As for the messenger and those who believed with him, they eagerly strive with their money and their lives. They have deserved all the good things. They are the winners. 24:51. The only utterance of the believers, whenever invited to God and his messenger to judge in their affairs, is to say, we hear and we obey. These are the winners. They understand that what God says to do is the best thing they can do for themselves, no matter how difficult it is. In audio 1, the messenger also says, if you are a person of God, you will be a winner at all time. It's fair to say that there's no shortage of information on actually how to be a winner. So we have no excuse when it comes to not trying. God has given us the blueprint of how to achieve the ultimate victory, but it's up to us to make it happen. Now, wherever there are winners, there are losers. And it's very easy to fall into being a loser. Losers are defined also in the Quran as those who violate God's covenant after pledging to uphold it, sever what God has commanded to be joined, and commit evil. That's 227. 385. Anyone who accepts other than submission as his religion, it will not be accepted from him, and in the hereafter, he will be with the losers. 140 says, losers prohibit what God has provided for them and follow innovations attributed to God. 799. Have they taken God's plans for granted? None takes God's plans for granted except the losers. 63:9. O you who believe, do not be distracted by your money and your children from remembering God. Those who do this are the losers. Now, being a loser is the last thing anyone in this room should want to be, because not only does this affect your life here, but also in the hereafter. Losers are only guaranteed nothing but misery. I want to talk about competitiveness. Now, every time there's a winner, they have competitiveness in them. As I look around this room, and the people that I know from this room already, I can see some people who are quite competitive individuals. Now, let's just see who's honest. Raise your hands up if you think you're a competitive individual. Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. A fair few people. Mashallah, mashallah. Well, seeing as this is like, one of the first times that I've met majority of you, I thought let me just share some pictures of people who I actually know who are quite competitive, if the thing wants to work. There we go. So, by the way, these are just the pictures that I could find last minute, but the one that you see in this picture, myself included, is competitive. Now, we've had some Yeah, we've had some funny stories when it comes to competing. I mean, this one, if you know the story, you know the story. If you don't know, just ask anyone in the UK community, they'll let you know. Um, but the reason as to why I put this up there is because if everyone in this room went and did an activity today, for example, let's say bowling, the sheer competitiveness that would be shown from individuals if we were at a competitive, if we were, sorry, Bush was a bit late to the message. You got it. Lovely. The sheer competitiveness that would be shown from individuals is crazy. If we were as competitive to win that bowling game as we were to attain salvation and become winners in God's eyes, there's no way we wouldn't make it. I'm telling you now, some of these pictures and the stories of the of the what's the word I'm talking about now? Competitiveness. If people showed that competitiveness into striving, well, that's all I'll say. But the problem is why is it so easy to put in so much effort for a meaningless game of bowling that frankly you're probably only going to win about 30 minutes of bragging rights and maybe a stroke of your ego compared to potentially winning guaranteed eternal perfection now and forever. Think about it, really. If there was a competition at work where a huge bonus is up for grabs for everyone who hits their target that quarter, you are putting in a lot of effort to win that bonus. I know you would. But ultimately, even though it would be good to receive that extra money, that bonus will not help you on the day of judgment. Let's talk about what we should actually be competitive in. Competing in righteousness. We should compete in righteousness every day. We do this to show God just how much we want to be saved. We must grab every opportunity we can to grow our soul. 94:7 to 8. Whenever possible, you shall strive, seeking only your Lord. The messenger of the covenant says, Surah 94:7 tells you that you must grab every chance you can to feed your soul. Anything you do that doesn't have to do with God is a waste of time. Whenever possible, you shall strive means you must never pass up a chance to strive in the cause of God. Friday prayer, Quran study, etc. You give priority to God's commandments over everything else. Then, and only then, if you have time, you do other things. Now, amongst our communities, we're all privy to hearing reminders and seeing believers exhorting one another to strive. We should recognize that when opportunities to strive come our way, it's in our best interest to accept them, and they will help grow our souls. The messenger of the covenant says, never pass up a chance to strive. So we should ponder on this and be honest with ourselves. If we can be doing more than we currently are. It's an important question to ask all the time, every day. Can I be doing more? Just like what lots of submitters love to say, if the messenger says it, we do it. Now, there's no compulsion in religion. We all know this. No one's going to force you or put a gun to your head to strive in these types of ways. But there is always more we can be doing to seek God's approval. The same way you may strive to win a race, think about applying it to striving in the cause of God, in a race to do righteousness. This is just one example. If you pass on an opportunity, there will be another believer who is eagerly going to take your place. 29:6. Those who strive for their own good. God is in no need for anyone. 29:69. As for those who strive in our cause, we will surely guide them in our path. Most assuredly, God is with the pious. God mentions striving in the Quran in 27 verses. The Oxford Language definition of strive is to make great efforts to achieve or to obtain something. Now ask yourself, do you make a great effort in your submission? I know I've got some parts I need to put more effort in, and God willing I will. But some verses that talk about striving and competing in righteousness are 2:148. Each of you choose the direction to follow. You shall race towards righteousness, wherever you may be. God will summon you all. God is omnipotent. 5:48. You shall compete in righteousness. To God is your final destiny, all of you. Then he will inform you of everything you had disputed. Competing in righteousness goes hand in hand with becoming a winner, because the more works you do for God, the better your chances are for being saved. There's no difference between a sedentary believer and a striver. There is a difference, sorry, between a sedentary believer and a striver. Thank God for that one. Uh, the messenger actually says, believers who believe in God, the hereafter, follow the Quran alone, and worship God alone, but that's the extent of it, are good people and do go to heaven, though they're not the same rank as those who strive. Although the sedentary believer may still be saved, we should be striving for those higher ranks, which are promised to the strivers. In the Quran, God has recommended for the believers to actually compete in righteousness. If we look at the statements in the above verses, which I didn't read because I'm running out of time, but let me read them. 23:57. Surely those who are reverently conscious of their Lord and who believe in the revelations of their Lord and who never set up any idols besides their Lord, as they give their charities, their hearts are fully reverent, for they recognize that they will be summoned before their Lord. They are eager to do righteous works. They compete in doing them. If we look at those statements, competing in righteousness, we look at it as an actual competition among fellow believers. This actually might sound like an ego-related war if we look at it as a competition. Competing in righteousness doesn't mean trying to, one up another believer. For example, if a believer gives £5 to a homeless person, you don't now have to cross the road and give £10 to another homeless person because it's better than what the other believer does. That's not competing in righteousness. In actual fact, competing in righteousness just means you have to be better than your old self. Be better. Whatever you can do, do better. You're just fighting against yourself to be the best that you possibly can be. If the Quran is clearly advising the believers to constantly work on killing their egos, which it does quite a lot, then the ego-based element of doing better than other believers is not really what God is advocating when he tells us to compete and hasten in doing righteous works. Killing your ego whilst competing in righteousness means you are just working harder to be a better and more righteous submitter. Not, I have to be better than this person or that person. More so, I just need to be a better version of myself to seek God's approval. 5:35, I'm coming towards the end. O you who believe, you shall reverence God and seek the ways and means to him, and strive in his cause that you may succeed. When God advises us to compete in righteousness, he wants us to look around us and benefit from all the righteous believers, using their knowledge and strength to progress our souls by God's leave. Follow their righteous examples rather than competing for the sake of doing better than them. It seems that this is one of the benefits of forcing ourselves to be with the believers, according to 1821. Now, in conclusion, the essence of competing in righteousness is not about trying to do better than other fellow believers or about considering them as opponents in a race, but it is about a self-striving effort to achieve higher ranks and become better human beings and believers. God wants us to use all the tools and means to become closer to him and to redeem our souls. So let's do more. Do more charity, read more in studies, spend more time with the believers, go over materials like the videos and audios. Ladies, the men are always looking for people to write sermons, so encourage yourselves to write more sermons and let the men perform them as well. Spread the message more. There's so many more ways to grow our soul and make God our number one priority. We must give priority to God's commandments. God is the one who tells us to strive. This is for our own good. So let's strive to get that winner's position. And God willing, I get to see you guys all on the winning podium when it's all said and done. That's it.
Thank you. If I see you giving $5 to charity, I will give $6.
All right, cool. Now I'll go back and give 7.
All right, we'll have time for questions, God willing. And Superman, question, I will get you this.
Please, no hard ones. Welcome, salam.
I love you. You're my big teddy bear.
This is a religious conference, brother. Remember that.
People using the worldly example of like competing in righteousness, how competitive we get.
Mhm.
It says our spiritual righteousness, like we see like someone makes a great a client comment.
Mm.
And that inspires us and to make us comment as well. So like definitely we should the same level of competitiveness that we have in the worldly sense
Mm-hmm.
has to be equal or even better, in the spiritual sense. So
Yeah.
much like I just want you to go back to that slide. If you don't mind.
This one.
Why? My face there. Than anyone else.
Mm.
I'm seeking refuge from the monsters that surround me, our community. This picture. Mushroom. 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 Here. Yeah. My first question is, why is my face there?
So do you want to answer them one by one? All right, cool. So you know those demons you've been talking about that you're seeking refuge from. When it is a competitive situation, you are not there. It's that demon, and I put that picture up there for you to see that demon and for you to seek refuge more. Yeah, and stay away from him and stop it. That's your answer to your first question. Now, what's the second one?
That's it, bro.
Yeah. No worries. But also, you did address a good point. People, if you do see your face up there more than once, you got a lot to work on. Yeah, let's be honest. I want to put myself up there more, but I need like 10 slides. So I just thought I'd just. But Q. That's all I need to say anyway. Uh, yeah, no, another time. Another time. Another time. Bushra.
My comment was about the previous comment I wanted to answer. Yeah. Maybe you can pick a slide or pick a picture and tell us the backstory. I choose the sumo wrestler. Yeah, good one.
Okay. Yeah, good day. Good day. Good day. So, no, to be honest, the sumo wrestler, this is how random our community is. I actually don't remember the sumo wrestler one. But all I know is I was there, and somehow there was sumo wrestling outfits. Lucy was in one of them, and who was in the other? There was a dinosaur. Yes, inflatable outfits. That's the one. I get it. And then I was somehow a referee, and they were going up against each other. So there was a sumo wrestler and a dinosaur. And yeah, I don't know how this story is sounding, but this is legit what happened, to be honest. And then, yeah, so then the competitiveness, that demon that Umar likes to hide away from, really wanted to win. And then Lucy just really wanted to win. And so much was going on that they nearly broke Jamal's floor and nearly went straight through to the bottom floor. And yeah, that picture was actually taken before the madness. So that's that story. But yeah, I've got time to explain anything else.
Okay, awesome.
No? Great.
Oh,
Also, it feels great to be Joshua.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
I guess so in the slides before, like the verses that were put up was saying that when you strive to seek God alone, as in that is why we strive.
This one.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
strive individually.
of course.
I guess my question would be, you explained a lot about the fact that it's not ego is only involved if you're competing with other submitters,
Mm.
and that's not the spirit of what striving means. It means
Of course.
against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question would be, do you think in this context, ego can slip in other ways? Because you were talking about winning competitiveness. I mean, in terms of like when even submitters give reminders and stuff, and they're seeing that every individual has their own journey or path of striving, and because we only do it for ourselves, if there's an element of ego involved in that when when you are giving reminders also, basically.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and thank you for your question. I think the best way to answer this is reminders come from God. All reminders come from God. And we need to remember that all Quranic reminders that's been given to us or that we give to somebody all come from God. Now, in terms of people and their ego, I can't speak for everyone. I don't know who has an ego and who doesn't have an ego. But the reason as to why I mentioned ego in this is because when people talk about being competitive, they tend to characterize those individuals with having an ego. Now, the Quran uses words like competitive and strive, but God will never advocate for people to have an ego when we are actually told to kill our ego. So the reason as to why I wanted to bring that up is because there's a line, but it's a bit, how do I say it, wavy between being, competitive and having an ego, yet we need to take the Quran as a whole when we are being competitive and understand that, okay, we are being submitters for ourselves. We're striving for ourselves. I'm not striving to be better than you. I'm not striving to be better than you. I'm striving to be saved for myself. I'm trying to save my own neck. And ultimately, whether there's ego involved or not, God will know. But when it comes to, giving reminders with an ego, I genuinely think if somebody's giving you a Quranic reminder, there can't be an element of ego in that. Because if there was true ego in that, they wouldn't even remind you in the first place because they'd want to be better than you. So why would somebody remind you to do better when if they had an ego to be better submitted than you, they just wouldn't tell you because they would be better. And all reminders come from God. And ultimately, if God even wanted you to hear that reminder, you'd hear it. And that's about it. I'd say.
Um, okay, so now we're gonna do our 540 God willing. So we have some time. If anyone needs to get their ablution, please get your ablution. Yeah, Get something leaves. I want to make it very clear. We're gonna do our Namaz at 540, God willing. Then we're gonna leave for dinner. And I really want to after dinner, God willing. 7:30 p.m.
When you're talking, say to the microphone.
Um, what else? Oh, and please, everyone, please remember respectfully use the restrooms when you're getting your ablutions. Like
Underneath your chairs.
and clean underneath your chairs. Okay, anything else?
We're gonna get ready for prayer. So we're gonna chairs up to here, right here. Sephora, raise your hand. Up to Sephora. We're gonna stack the chairs and shelves. Wow, young guys. And all you young guys, cars, Noah's running. Noah,